yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake review.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
18 chapters of goodness.
We're gonna be here for like 3 hours, like just ranting.
I feel like a good way to start it off would maybe just to talk about generic things.
Sure.
Like what we thought of the combat, what we thought of the music,
Yes.
the pacing.
Sure. All right. I'm actually going to get another sheet of paper so I can write down as we go. Otherwise, I will lose my train of thought so easily. All right. So, combat, pacing. Do you want to start or?
Sure. I mean, those were the two I think I had to talk about. I had music, which was 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I had nothing to complain music-wise.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, they killed it in the music department. I felt some of it was odd at first, especially when you hear like the hip hop to Chocobo thing, like right at the beginning when you're in the slums. I was like, what the hell am I in for?
You could really tell which ones were Nobuo's tracks and which ones were Masashi's tracks.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you get to the what's that, like the sector 6,
collapsed highway or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's like just like, yep, here we are, Final Fantasy 13 round 2. Actually, 4 at this point. Yeah. So,
but yeah,
music
just
killed it.
some of the tracks like The Oppressed, when you meet Beck's badasses, I was not like that track should have been used way more.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I guess there was some expectation, I guess, with some of the music and how it was different in some areas, but definitely no complaints there. But yeah, combat overall, I loved it. Like, I did find it like a little annoying sometimes how much I was menuing, like just stopping like every other like attack or after a combo basically to menu and do something, but it wasn't that annoying almost. Like,
I really liked it. Yeah. I liked how it really felt. You really had to think through a lot of the fights and not just spam attack and win.
Yeah, and it felt like at the beginning I definitely was spamming attack a lot more just to figure out what the hell I was even doing, but as soon as I got more materia, it felt more, I guess that was the word, like natural, I guess. And fluid.
Yeah, the later you get, the more you realize that Cloud's sword isn't getting it done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I felt bad though overall that I really only used Barret and Cloud's like abilities really at the end of the day. Like, I really didn't do that much with Tifa just because I was like, okay, well, what am I doing? Unbridled Fury, Rise and Fall, Omni Strike. Like, I just kept repeating that process, and that was probably my own fault for not like exploring her abilities more, because like I was very like hyper aware of what like Cloud's abilities were as well as Barret and how I could use them well. It's just when it came to Tifa, I was just like, I'm just gonna hit them with an Unbridled Fury and smack their face off, like,
Yeah, she had some cool things, like she had that Star Strike move, which actually you could use like an AoE and hit multiple enemies.
Oh,
I know there was like on Genova, I was using Star Strike because it would hit both tentacles and Genova.
Oh, that's pretty dope. Yeah, that is good. Damn. Yeah.
Barrett for me was a dedicated healer and overcharge. I would just hit down on the D-pad, press triangle, and then switch back to Cloud.
Yeah, I really liked her Tempest move overall, because like it did like a magic AoE as well. So like I felt like she could do that at least whenever, like if I was just kind of hauling ass, like kind of like on Genova basically, to go through and kind of focus on a big target that was going to have like lots of ads and stuff like that. So like the Abzu fight, I felt that worked well, because as they would kind of come in Tempest and then knock them all out. But I think one of my biggest mistakes was not using the prayer materia, because I've seen it used by a few people, and like the more I look around, I'm like, yeah, like hard mode is going to be Magnify is on something like Barrier, and then prayer is going to be like your primary like healing thing, and you're gonna have like 3 prayers or something like that.
Yeah, I thought that was surprising when you were on my stream and you were like, I didn't use prayer. I was like, I use it every battle.
Yeah, no, I was like, prayer is stupid, because like I know it from like the other Final Fantasies, and it's just like some light healing move that does like 100 to 200 like HP, and I was like, I don't need this bullshit. Like, I already have like thousands of HP. Get out of here, prayer. But yeah, Hummer, you are right. The Abzu fights. And what's up, Biz? But
the only thing I wrote for combat, and it's maybe nitpicking a bit, I wish healing was a bit faster.
Yes, I agree. Because you can even tell with like Kiraga, that like you could see like you said it flips to the enemy, and then all of a sudden you have to wait for this giant ass like healing animation for Kiraga to pop, and like I don't know
and even when it gets, so then you have to, the person has to cast it, you have to wait for the cast and hope to God nothing hits you, because if something hits you, well, forget it, it's over, there goes 22 MP. And even when they do finish the cast, then they have to throw out the little orb. It has to travel to the person. And even when it gets to them, then it has to do this little sparkle animation. The numbers have to appear. And then you get the health. You're dead by then.
Yeah, I think my biggest complaint was, like, there needed to be, like, some sort of, like, not to quote, like, Dark Souls too much, but, like, a poise system, really, right? Like, something that, like, I can't be interrupted out of this move, and it can't just be limit breaks, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like half the time, like, the most annoying piece of combat for me was certainly, like, I'm trying to cast Fyra, and, like, it's going to get a nice little AoE, I'm going to pop all these guys out, or I can at least, you know, do a move to hit something, and all of a sudden, I just get, like, smacked in the face, and, like, I just kind of fall over, and then there goes my ATB bars, and... you know, the enemy is still just like, ha, punk, like kicking me into the ground.
Thanks for the MP and the ATB bars.
Yeah, it's just a waste, and I feel like MP is so scarce in this.
It's extremely scarce.
Yeah, and it's like, but I want to cast more spells, because like, yeah, I can smack something all day, but I don't want to just like, you know, twiddle about and stuff like that. Like I can cast one Aga spell and wipe this entire whatever, but then I have to like, I don't know. I can see how it's a good thing in the sense that it makes you calculate better, and you're not just kind of like, you know, using spells everywhere and kind of mopping the floor with stuff, but like just a little bit more MP or a little bit less MP cost would be great, which I guess probably at the end of the day, there are MP up materia, so like, you know, I think I tried to make use of that as best I could, but with it was hard to, I guess, gauge who really should have the MP up materia and all that other stuff, so it was interesting there.
I definitely think, like I said, like it's nothing to, like I said, it was almost like nitpicking. Like I think it just like if they just did a tiny tweak, it could be perfect. It's like almost perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
turn the gear one more and you got it.
Exactly. It's gonna be exciting to see how they take that feedback, I guess, from this first section to the next one, because obviously we don't even know when the next one's coming. So I think on top of that though, like with the combat, the weapons are very interesting, like the SP and stuff like that. It felt like you had the ability to allocate your SP automatically and go in and like say, you know, attack or defensive, you know, like based basically. How do you want to do it? But half the time it was like, well, yeah, I want attack. Like half of these like boosts to defense don't seem that great, and at the same time it's like always giving materia. So I felt like the auto allocation did well, but I wish at least a little bit that more of the weapons would have had similar materia slots, just so we could kind of, or I guess like you said, like a cosmetic change that would, you know, at least look a little bit better, I guess, at the end of the day. Like,
just let me have the Buster Sword.
Yeah, just let me have the Buster Sword. That's all it was. I was kind of disappointed when like the Buster Sword, it's not the worst, but it's definitely not the best. And like I ended up using the Twin Stinger at the end because I was like, well, it's balanced. Cloud is a, like, you know, a magic user for me, and I need him to do damage with like Infinity's Edge, so, you know, like, whatever.
Yeah, I was surprised you used the Twin Stinger. As soon as I got Hard Edge, I was like, that's the end of the game.
That's
Hard Edge.
Hard Edge, like I'm just gonna smack him around like a little baseball bat. But yeah, like it was certainly interesting, I would say. I did like how like you kind of learn the abilities and then you could do it, but yeah.
I loved the ability system.
Yeah, the ability system was good, so... But what you end up switching to another sword in the OG early too, so whatever. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing, is that like you have the Buster Sword throughout all of Midgar, and that's kind of like, you know, it's a defining thing, is like the Buster Sword there. But I don't know. I think that's the kind of my thought was like, well, I want the Buster Sword because I use it for Midgar, and like we're getting into like the story things there, I guess. But you know, but that's.
I don't think I want to go into the final battle with the nail bat on my back.
Dear God, no. I tried out the nail bat in the Sector 7 climb in what chapter? What chapter was that anyway? Saving Wedge. That was chapter 15, wasn't it? I'm just saying, it's weird to think that it was so late, because those last chapters are just really, they're not drawn out, but they are very long and kind of, you know, like they reviewed a lot of stuff, I guess, and went through a lot of detail. But like, yeah, so yeah, the nail bat sucked. Like I tried it out and I was like, this has crap damage I don't notice if I'm getting crits or not, so this is pointless, and I immediately switch back. So.
Yeah, every character had at least one weapon where I equipped it, went into a junk battle, and just spammed the ability like 10 times. Like, great, I learned it. Never again.
We're done. Yeah, I did like Barrett's Wrecking Ball, I think it was, or like, no, I think it was the Claw one. Like the Claw, I liked that a decent amount and did use it somewhat, but like at the end when you started going up on the climb, I was like, I have to use something else. This sucks. So, because everything was just so, like, everything was flying based up there, so.
Yeah, that was melee Barret just didn't work out a lot of the time.
Yeah, having him as range was amazing. Like, I felt like he was bulky enough to kind of handle it and kind of get in when he needed to, but he could also just kind of sit there and tank. So, whereas Aerith was a little bit more just kind of like, you know, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Spongy, is that the right word? I don't know. I don't know MMO things where she dies quickly.
Squishy.
Yeah, squishy, whatever. Spongy may not be great because it absorbs, but yeah, squishy would be good. Squishy Aerith. But yeah, like that, definitely some useless weapons to some degree, but a lot of fun though. Was very disappointed that you couldn't play as Red. Like when Hammer was like, I was like, he's a guest character. I was like, okay, he's a guest. So when does he become a party member? And Nomura like made like some like lol emote, and I was like, oh dear God, please don't do this to me. Like this is not what I signed up for. So yeah, we'll see though. I'm excited to see what the other characters play like, especially because we're gonna be getting. So we get Sid, who is assuming like all the characters that we get Sid, who is melee, Vincent, who is ranged, Yuffie, who's ranged. Kate Sith is ranged. What? I forgot about Kate Sith until right now. I literally forget. Like it just left my mind that Kate Sith existed. So like we have.
So he
like,
rolls dice.
So he rolls. So he rolls some dice and then you win the game. It's great.
I don't know. But that one will be something.
Yeah, it'll be weird, but yeah, it'll be very weird. But yeah, so we get a lot of I think ranged characters coming in more or less, but. It's not definitely a bad thing at the end of the day. They'll probably make it somehow that they can somewhat be like melee. Because I know Yuffie, like, even though she throws like her shuriken, her giant ass shuriken, like she did have like a fan and other weapons. So it'll probably be balanced like that in that aspect. I guess Red technically is a melee character as well. It's just he has stuff like I think that's the reason they made sure to even add him or like keep him available as a guest character for like the last battles because him and Barret. Because Barret would use, like, you know, his limit and then Stardust Ray for Red to range even more, so...
Yeah, I could see Yuffie being like Barret, where there's some ranged weapons and some melee weapons for her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we got... What do we hit? So we hit combat. Is pacing next? Pacing?
Yeah, I think just... I felt like the game... overall was pretty good. There were just a few moments I felt like it slowed down drastically.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of stop and go, especially like after. I think what made it even worse is so after watching. I think I've said this a lot actually. After watching the game developers conference for Sony and literally having God, what was that guy's name? Mark something. I don't know, like the lead developer for the PS5 basically, or for the architect for the PS5 was like, yeah, so you know in God of War when you're climbing a wall, that's a loading zone. And I was like watching Cloud like walk along all these small paces and I'm like, oh look, another loading zone. And like all this like cinematic crap that's just a loading zone at the end of the day. And I'm like, give me the PS5. But that's a completely separate topic. But yeah, I think that was probably what broke the pacing more for me at the end of the day was knowing that aspect of it and just like constantly slow walking everywhere. And it's like, great.
A lot of moments we were like, why are we walking again?
Exactly. And it's just kind of, it wasn't everywhere, but it was a lot of places. And I feel like that really kind of killed the vibe in some aspects. So
it's again probably another nitpicking part, but...
Yeah, exactly, right. And like I admit that I'm pretty lenient when it comes to like the pacing thing, I guess. Like I could I could certainly like I knew that the train graveyard was kind of just like overdone and everything, but like I personally didn't have that much of a problem with it. Like it was kind of like, yeah, this is point. The only section that I really didn't like or want was the Leslie section. The Leslie section was purely just like why are we here? Who is this random person? Like, Don Corneo escapes. Great. Like, give me something shorter, less dumb. I don't need an extra character just to talk about this. Like, you know, I don't know. But I feel like at the end of the day, we can talk about that in the chapter section.
Yeah, I have a few spots in every chapter, or not every chapter, but every chapter I thought was like slow or uninteresting. I made a note of it.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think level design is very 90s like. I guess I'd be interested to see you expand on that, Hummer. But yeah, other than that, yeah, pacing, combat. What else did I write? Okay, yep. Other complaints. Go ahead.
I had down the visuals. I mean, it was like one of the most gorgeous games I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Oh god.
My only gripe was the few moments where it was like PS2 textures on stuff. The one I point out is
I think I know which one you're gonna say.
The flowers.
Yep, the flowers. Like she's like, I talked to the flowers.
Zoom the camera in on a spot. Just make a texture for that circle.
Yeah,
that's a high res.
Yeah, like literally, it's like she's talking to these flowers, and you look down, and you're like, what?
It's like
crap. This is straight out of Final Fantasy 12. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's exactly what I thought at that point. And I was like, well,
make those 5 flowers look good.
Yeah, like, oh my goodness, yeah, it was so funny because like I think I was even like I first noticed it like kind of hardcore when you went to Aerith's house, and like I was like walking around the kitchen, and I'm like, oh, look at this microwave. It is like really low res specifically for this, and I just thought that was great. Like I'm not about to like, it's not really gonna affect anything, but it's certainly noticeable, and it's like
it was just so funny.
It was just one of those things. It's like, well, here we are, like, okay.
Like, man, I could see the pores on Cloud's face. And look at that flower.
And look at that flower, dude. Like, they cared about one flower, and that was the flower that Aerith gave to him at the beginning. Because, like, even in, like, the, like, you know, the escape section where Aerith is taking Marlene away, you can see that the flower's, like, actually well detailed, and it's like literally put like 5 of those in a circle, like you said, and then we're good. So, like, it didn't need to be that much better. It just needed to be a little bit better. Like, it was so funny. Yeah, I thought that was great. But
yeah, so many spots I was like very impressed with how much detail they put into a lot of the environments.
Yeah, like it, and that's kind of like the trade-off, right? It's like basically the last part of chapter 18 was like pre-rendered, but you know what I mean? Like, that sort of thing. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, this is intense. And, like, that's how I kind of knew that we were in the final fight. I was like, well, they're all pre-rendered now, and they're fighting Sephiroth, so...
Oh, look, Cloud has the Buster Sword. This is pre-rendered.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was, the graphics were absolutely amazing. So, yeah, music, combat, graphics, pacing, kind of, like, abilities and those sorts of things. I was very excited when they, like, because I was like, okay, how is there a classic, easy, and normal, but there's not a hard mode? So I assumed hard mode would come after you beat the game, but I kind of do like the fact that, like, hard mode, like, you can just go straight into hard mode, and it's just in the chapter select, so you just kind of go through everything in hard, and you're good to go. Like, I thought that was fun.
It would be cool if you could start up a fresh game on hard mode, but...
Yeah, I don't think I would ever do that personally, but props to the people who want to, because... Yeah.
It'd be a neat challenge run.
Yeah, oh god, that just sounds... I mean, because you can kind of do those challenges anyway, right? Like, from those aspects in normal already. It's just,
right.
Yeah, but I guess the enemy HP also kind of adds to that aspect in a way. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of people come up with, I think, when it comes to those things, like, and how they actually do. Yeah, and yeah, that's right. Epic Name Bro did his first whole playthrough without healing in combat, and like that sounds nuts to me. Like that is like, yeah, I think he just finished today, right, Hummer? And like that's just thinking about that is absolutely nuts to me, because like I don't know, like your first playthrough, like that's so much dedication and like everything else. But like I watched like the very end tidbit of his stream where he was like in the final menu and all that sort of stuff, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is great. And like he just sounded so like down, and I don't know if it's because he was just tired from beating the game. I need to go back and watch the VOD, but like I was like, what is like, is he upset like me? Because like like you saying like my what the fuck face the entire time. I was like, yeah,
I was
like
dying. I was like, I'm gonna watch Foxy play it. And yeah, you just like from the moment you stepped into the portal, your jaw was just dropped.
Yeah,
like
I was livid. I was the exact same thing as Mutsky. I was like, yep, I put up with some bullshit. I put up with a lot of bullshit, but this bullshit right here, this some special bullshit. Like, it's real big. But yeah, like, because I think we were talking about in your chat, right, about how like I don't know, the confusion between like, well, I guess we should probably save this for when we get to that chapter, right? So
yeah,
we'll just kind of dive.
We can just start if you want. Just start from the beginning of the game.
Start from the beginning. Chapter 1. Yeah.
Chapter 1, Destruction of Mako Reactor 1.
Yeah. So I have very limited notes, but I mean, I thought in the beginning, obviously, it was like just the setup was so great. Like even like I should go back and like make like some video of this at the end of the day, but like. I guess a reaction video would be fun because like I was overly reacting to everything because as soon as it dropped it, because like this game is so important to me just because this is like the OG was like my introduction to video games basically. Like this is where I fell in love with games and wanted to play video games, and like that's, you know, everything else. So like the fact that this is out right now and like, you know, I can experience this is just really huge personally, and so I think that's why I'm taking the story bits probably a little bit harder than some at some points, because I'm like, but I liked it so much how it was, why are you changing it, you know, like that sort of thing. But
yeah, I had like nothing to say about chapter 1.
It's,
I don't know why Hammer hates the first cutscene.
I don't know either.
I thought it was a neat little addition.
Yeah, like it kind of just shows you that there's life in Midgar. It sort of feel like I've that they're giving me more than just Aerith. I'm totally fine with. Like there was no problems there. I have no qualms with that. I did think that it was kind of funny, like both in the demo and in this too much sunlight. it's fine, but what I was gonna say, yeah, the anime portions, like you could kind of tell they were gonna start like, you know, all this like Cloud does badass things, and so therefore everybody else is gonna do badass things here and there, and so that was interesting to see. I did think Barrett was a little over the top in the beginning, but I did like, I had to just kind of remember that I'm not reading just how it's going and kind of interpreting that as like, you know, the speech that I expect, and like really he was just that like fervent about, you know, saving the planet and all that stuff. So like as the time went on, I was like, yes, this is right, this is correct, this is
Barrett.
Yeah, this is Barrett more or less. Like yeah, so yeah, nothing really to say there. Was kind of just like, yep, this is it, and then yeah. So
like obviously they played the first chapter safe because it was the demo. It's the first thing people are gonna see. They really didn't want to take any risks in the first chapter.
Yeah, it's like we need to make sure
turn
that
people off at the demo.
We can't just have them spend a full game price for this at the end of the day and like, you know, blow it up. Like just completely start adding whispers in the beginning, and people were just
I was gonna say turn on the demo and a whisper shows up.
I would have ripped my hair out. I would have ripped my hair out so fast, and I would have went and found Nomura, and I would have flown to Japan knowing that I'm not going to come back to the US and found Nomura. Like yeah. So yeah. Oh, are you saying in chapter 1, Hammer? Oh yeah, that is a good point. Like, because you actually
You're talking about Shinra blowing up the reactor?
Yeah. Like, which I think what I thought there was, I was like, oh, they're kind of like correcting things a little bit more in the sense of like they're going to be, you know, making Shinra, like obviously they're the bad guy, but we don't really know how bad they are until you find out that like, you know, the president in Sector 5 is like, you know, like when he comes out to meet them is like, oh, by the way, we're blowing up the reactor, and, you know, middle fingers up more or less to all of you guys. So I thought that was interesting to say the least. But
I liked it because it really didn't, I felt like it didn't change too much about everything.
Yeah, it
in the original, you know. Jessie, you know, it's the same thing. Jessie still blames herself. She thought it was her bomb that blew up the reactor. Shinra already was trying, you know, they dropped the plate. They were trying to paint Avalanche in a negative light. So it just kind of adds to that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like it doesn't really change the narrative, I guess is the thing. Like it was just adding on to it in that aspect. So yeah, thought that was totally fine. But yeah. Oh yeah, the avalanche to Wutai thing was cool because like yeah, you're very right, Hummer. Because it was like yeah, like in the beginning of the game, it's like oh yeah, Wutai, there was a war and it's over, and now the war is like a ceasefire, which is a little bit more. It's just expanding, right?
It's a little bit of world building that's
yeah.
really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Brings the world to life a little more.
Exactly, and yeah, seeing that in the next parts will be interesting. How we can like access Wutai and like how we actually get there. But I will digress. But yeah. So chapter 2. So chapter 2 was literally just him getting to the train, right?
To the station, yeah.
Yeah, like that's where I realized I was like, okay, this is starting to get drawn out. But like, I guess with the pacing and the battles, it wasn't too much, right? I didn't really think about it. I guess at the end of the day, I was like, yep, they're just expanding. Like obviously, Midgar isn't just these 3 screens, and then you fight some, you fight some Shinra shoulders, and then you hop on the train. It's like, there's a lot more to it. So yeah, there's that aspect there. So. Definitely, yeah. I think that was more simple at the end of the day. There wasn't like a big boss there or anything else. It was kind of just like, yep, like shit's crazy. Like you can actually talk to people. This is actually the first part where they introduced the whispers, though, right? With like Aerith, right?
Yeah.
And, like, that's where I was like, uh oh, here we go.
Yeah, I have that down here. This is the first instance of the whispers with Aerith, and then. They intervened 2 times. One to bring attention to Aerith, and then one to shoo Aerith away. But
yeah,
I guess we can get to that later. I just wanted to make note of it.
Yeah.
So when we get to the whispers, I can go back and be like, whispers.
Whispers, like mind-boggling.
Yeah, I liked the addition. I like just the tiny little addition of a soldier recognizing Cloud. I mean,
oh yeah,
Cloud was a trooper in. He was a Shinra trooper. You'd think somebody would know who he is.
Exactly, yeah.
It was nice to see that somebody.
Yeah.
We're getting there, Hammer. I have that written down too.
Was that?
I went with the positive thing first.
Yeah, go positive, then we go negative.
Because I was like,
yeah,
that was my negative thing.
Yeah.
Should we have really seen Sephiroth that early?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I was very like. On the fence. I was like, this is way too early to be talking about him. Like, we don't even know. You don't know what his name is. You don't know. Like, you're seeing like the burning village of Nipple already. Like, what is like what?
I was fine with that.
Yeah. So.
Because you don't know what it is. There's no context there.
True.
I didn't even mind us like seeing Sephiroth, but then it was like the talk was like, especially like when Cloud was like, "I killed you," and he was like, "Oh, I know." I was like, "Whoa, hold on." It's a little early to be saying Cloud killed Sephiroth.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Cloud says you're dead. So it's like, well, who is this person? Why is he dead? Why are we talking about him, more or less? And like, yeah. So I said, I was fine
with him appearing, but they said a lot about him. I was just like, okay, whoa, slow down.
Yeah. I think overall I didn't write much down about Sephiroth, but I do have strong feelings about his appearance in the game.
Yeah.
More or less. But yeah, so that was pretty standard, but yeah. So chapter 3, we get the slums, and that was kind of basic too, right? Except you kind of get to experience the tattooed people, the Genova experiment dudes pretty early on, I guess.
Marco,
yeah, Marco, and like I felt like that was a decent way to like introduce them. It wasn't bad by any means. It was kind of just like, yeah, like there are these dudes that have these tattoos and they've grown a lot and they're kind of weird. So like,
yeah,
because they really didn't even do anything in the first game. Once you start like finding them, they're just like they just tell you he has a tattoo on him. So I mean, like there really wasn't another narrative change there. It was just like, yep, these people exist, blah blah blah. Like whatever.
You just see them in the original. You're like, okay, what was that? That was weird.
Marco was called Marcat in Italian. Is it Marco an Italian name? Like Marco, like what? That's like changing it purposely for no reason.
So, chapter 3, Home Sweet Slum. I wanted to see the hideout under the bar.
Yes. Yeah, I guess for some reason I didn't really ever like. I didn't feel the need, I guess, but yeah, like I get
like
yeah.
It didn't need to be part of the story. It just would have been nice if it was a side area you could have went to and saw.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been to actually go down. I guess why they didn't take the time to render that or like just animate it a little bit, like
there's a lot of areas in the game that aren't even part of the story at all. You can just go there and check it out for yourself. That would have been nice to just be like, oh, if you go interact with the pinball machine, you can see the hideout.
Yeah, exactly. So very interesting. I guess that's also where the mini game started too, because you had the
darts.
The darts, and like I thought that's where I was like, oh, there's gonna be more mini games like this, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, and Viz, you're right. Yeah, they showed that it existed, but they didn't let you see it. So it was like, yes, hey, we recognize that this was a thing back then, but we're not gonna like like just show it to you, like even like in a quick like little like spun around where Barrett says like "fuck Cloud" and then you know get out of there or something like that. You know, like just give me something.
See Barrett kick someone like he does in the original game.
Yeah.
I forget who that is. He throws someone like towards the camera.
Yeah, it was probably Oh, I think it was Biggs. I'm pretty sure it was Biggs. Yeah, it was definitely Biggs. But yeah, I vividly remember that now. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I also wrote down, and this might again be nitpicking or something.
Yeah.
I said maybe there were one too many side quests. I just felt like this was the first instance of like, hey, there's these side quests to do, but if you don't do them, you'll never be able to do them again. And so you're like, all right, let me just stop and do these.
Yeah, just there's a lot of stalling, I guess, is kind of what I feel like, and like it's like like I'm paying. That's a point I kind of hit on. I think at the end is that like it seemed like there was there's certainly sections that they could have taken out, and then and it just kind of made it more condensed and to the point at the end of the day. So sorry, my roommate just got home and my dog is freaking out. But but yeah, like it was just kind of one of those things of like, I guess I had to have a reason to give you stuff at the end of the day, and like that was probably the best way to do it. Trying to think about it positively, I guess. But yeah, there were certainly a lot of side quests and a lot of just like characters that we get introduced to that at the end of the day, and I'm like, well, you're just like you're obviously an NPC that I'm not going to care about past this side
never
quest.
Gonna see again.
Like, and I'm never going to see again. So whatever, right? So yeah, that was certainly interesting. But
yeah, chapter 3 had the Johnny stuff, but I didn't have anything really to say about that.
Like Johnny's just a character now, great.
It was just a thing.
Yeah, and like I feel like that probably was more of like they wanted to include more of Johnny in the OG, and now this is like you know Nomura's chance basically to go through and actually add him in. So Chadley, yeah. The whole chat, like I should again I should make a reaction video because like a reaction to my, or not a reaction video but like my reaction video because like I literally leapt out of my chair and like rolled around.
I couldn't believe his name was Chadley.
Oh my god! But yeah, that was ridiculous. Okay, that was so nuts. Oh man, and like his monocle and everything, I was just like, what the hell is this weird ass nerdy kid like doing all this stuff? But the fact that they made him omnipresent throughout the game, and like he's like kind of like he manages your side quests, he gives you new materia and like all this other stuff, like I felt like that was a good pacing piece. But yeah, he's obviously a robot. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, like Marl was okay. Like she was kind of just like a side character that needs to help kind of support what's going on more or less. And otherwise, yeah, that's that, isn't it? Yeah, chapter 3 was pretty, like, although there were a bunch of side quests, was like brief in the sense of like everything else that's going on. So that and Hip Hop the Chocobo.
Hip Hop the Chocobo, that dude's mixtape.
Check out my mixtape, fam. All right, chat.
I just love that he's like, yo, check out this song, you like it, have a copy. I was like, all right,
and that just happened everywhere, literally. Like that's how you picked up at least like 6 or 7 of the different things. It was like, oh hey man, isn't this track great? You want it? I got extras. And it's like, okay, cool. You and like 13 other people over here.
Yeah, great. I got a pile of them.
Yeah, just like throw it on the pile, dude. And like, yeah. So that I think that's a good point though. Like I guess as kind of like touching back to the music, it was like cool. You could put on jukeboxes and stuff, but you couldn't like if you left that area, then it just went back to the regular music. It's like, no, play it in the overworld, please. Like I want to listen to this.
Let me save the pillar listening to Hip Hop the Chocobo.
Yeah. This is dropping this mad
watching
track.
Jesse die, you're just listening to this sick beat.
Yeah. That would just be the biggest meme ever. Nice. But yeah, so chapter 4?
Chapter 4, Mad Dash.
4. Yeah.
I liked this chapter.
You did? I think I did.
I liked the expansion of Jessie.
Yeah, I'm glad it was there. Like, Jessie's best girl, obviously. But yeah, like the whole her expansion of like the whole like she gave up like this life of I guess fame and fortune, not fame and fortune, but like fame and celebrity that she was destined for Avalanche basically, and like it kind of just adds that weight of like she believes in what she's fighting for, I guess, and like, that was pretty cool. So
it's nice to see that people just don't end up as quote unquote eco-terrorists. Just like wake up one day and be like, shit, I want to bomb stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it was nice to see that she had a motivation to want to be there.
Yeah. So I'm gonna switch to I'm gonna switch to my chapter select to
nice
as we go through this, so we can kind of help out and give some visuals.
Yeah, I wrote down here that I thought Roche was okay.
Mm-hmm.
He just never came back.
Yeah, exactly. He was kind of just like brief. Yeah.
I fully expected him to come back on the second motorcycle chase, and he's just like, see you on part 2, I guess.
Yeah. See you, fam. Like, yeah, that was certainly very interesting at the end of the day. It was just more of like I like that they added another soldier character in there that you could interact with, but it's like, well, Roche he's not dead and gone, but it's just kind of like the what else are we looking forward to, I guess, at the end of the day. So I thought
we have all these named soldiers in the past of Sephiroth and Geo, Zack,
Genesis,
technically Cloud, and it's like nice to see a soldier with a name.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
instead of just
he's not even like
soldier.
and he's not like some top of the line like gonna murder everybody. He's doing wicked shit with his stuff, but he's not like like actually going all out and some overpowered.
Yeah, he's not even a soldier first class. I think he's just a third class soldier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he was kind of just like the other guys that show up on the highway, I guess, at the end of the game. So they're not crazy. They didn't do crazy stuff, but it kind of would have been a bit too much, I think, if they did do that. Like, adding Roche would have been fun, but I think the motorball fight was good, I felt like, and a good twist, I guess, to the original. But adding him in there probably would have warranted motorball being like an actual boss fight, not just the whatever. But yeah,
it just would have been neat, like, because it definitely alluded to the fact that Roche will be back.
Yeah.
That he's going to be like a recurring character.
Yeah.
It would have been neat to see him on that highway to kind of almost give you that clue of like, oh, he's going to leave Midgar 2 with us.
Yeah, and like he's going to chase us, or like Shinra is not done with us, more or less, or like, that's that sort of thing. So that'd be very interesting. But yeah.
Not just like roll up in Junon and Roche is like, sup?
Like, why are you here? Dog? Yeah, like, why are you in June, dude? Like... Yeah, no.
I guess never mind. They could probably tie that in with like he's there for welcoming.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like the Rufus welcoming ceremony. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like on guard.
Yeah, I'm thinking that part 2 will at least get to Junon, if not Costa del Sol, or I feel like I don't know. I guess it's hard to say because like really, there's a lot. Like it's interesting to see how they drug out all the specific areas that you go to in Midgar.
Yeah.
But as you go into because you have the farm, you have Calm, you have Junon, you have Costa del Sol, and you have Coral. So that's 6 places right there. And we kind of hit all of those places, like that many places, quote unquote, when we went through Midgar. So we got Reactor 1, Slums. They added Mad Dash, but it's going through the old stuff. Like you get Reactor 5, the Sector 5 Slums, Sector 7 again. Like you've already got like way more in Midgar basically that they've expanded on. So it'll be interesting to see how like the overall world that they'll make with just the specific one-off areas that you go to in the OG with after this. But yeah, it's a weird comparison. But yeah, because what did they do after? So like at the end of the mission where they just go and blow up something, right? Is that what it was for chapter, like at the end of chapter 5? Because like you fight Roche, and then what are they like?
Chapter 4 is you fight Roche, Jesse stealing the blasting agent.
Right. Okay.
You parachute back down, and the end of chapter 4 is fighting the Whispers.
Right.
Chapter 5 starts on the train.
Okay.
Sorry, I wrote it down. This was our next instance of the Whispers.
Yeah, next instance of the Whispers. And you're just like, I think this is when I started to get annoyed with them, because I was like, what is all this bullshit? like at this point, I realized that they were specifically plot devices and driving the plot as is. And I was like, okay, why?
Like, why are you here?
Why are you here? Like, I was so confused and all this other stuff, and like it was adding like, it was, I don't know if Nomura was like and also I hate your bro, I'm sorry about your ass. Like, I feel like dialogue is something we should talk about at the end too, because like,
oh, that's right,
it was so good, but we could kind of go through as we do. But like, like, I hate your bro, I'm sorry about your ass. Like them adding in cuss words and stuff like actually made it feel so much more human, I guess, at the end of the day.
Can't believe this game was rated T.
Yeah, it was rated T, actually?
Yeah.
Well, call me Sally, damn.
I think it's because there was no blood.
True, that's probably it. But like, yeah, just like, I don't know, when I think I'll talk about like it's in my brain. Got it memorized. Like I think when we fought Reno the first time. Well, we'll wait. I'm jumping ahead. I'm jumping ahead. Like a lot of these chapters, I'm like, yep, this happened. Cool, great. Like not a huge story plot, and that's kind of, I guess, my not one qualm with it, but it's kind of just like a lot of this kind of gets to the filler portion of like, well, you could have just kept this shorter and moved on, but yeah. So chapter 5, Dog Pursuit. So yeah, so this is the start of going to Reactor 5.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of basic. Like I didn't really feel like there was anything that was like, what, I even forget exactly what happened in this chapter. Like you're on the train, you go to the reactor, and then by the time you get back down to like the I can't even remember exactly what this is. Like,
yeah, Homer, I think, I've heard people saying that it's easier for them to market and sell a lower rated game, you know. Probably. A rated T game's easier to sell than a rated M game.
Yeah. And it's less controversial probably at the end of the day. And
right.
I know, that's probably an aspect they're going for. So, but yeah, so Dog Pursuit, I can't even really remember anything about this, like besides the fact that we get to light the way, which is kind of just like the underground portion, and it's like
yeah.
I
wrote down that I had nothing to complain about chapter 5. I thought the train with the hurry music was amazing.
Yep,
they did a really good job on that. They had the timer even though it meant nothing in that spot.
Yeah.
the running the railways was long, but it was long in the original. It's really cool.
It was certainly a lot to go through.
I had nothing to complain about that chapter. I thought it was really well done. Yep. The little insights into like Heidegger watching them was cool.
Yeah, that was very cool. So like they know what's going on. Like they're not super secret spies or anything. It's just whatever. They're just there hanging out and trying to do what they do. But Shinra is like just like not all powerful, but they're very more in tune and know what's going on. So yeah.
Right.
Yep. So light the way. This one was a little odd because like I was just like, yeah, this place is expansive, but I have no idea where I'm going. Like,
yeah,
I don't want to say I got lost, but I certainly was confused about where I was at the end of the day. For the most part, I was like, yeah, this is just weird. But
I wrote down first instance I felt was uninteresting.
Yeah,
I just did not care about the sun lamps.
Yep.
I was like, you can tell me that it was cool to know, like, oh, there's sun lamps. Cool, that's good to know. I didn't need to go turn 5 of them off.
Yeah, exactly. It was just kind of like, here, go do this thing while we, add in more stuff, to complete.
This was the one spot where it was like, it's not like, for all the spots I wrote this down, it's not that I thought it was bad. It's just, it wasn't interesting.
Yeah,
I was just going through the motions.
Exactly. Very much going through the motions. So that and you get the Chocomog materia here. So that was the one thing I was like, which you missed. I was like, some materia, haul ass for it, like, go back and find it. So yeah, that's all I cared about.
Yeah. That was another one of those instances where Tifa's like, oh, we should come back for that. And I was like, we should come back for that. And I thought maybe I'd see the path as I was doing the thing. And I just never saw it, and then I just forgot about it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, nothing really of note here, I agree. Yes, and I was a little litty when I went through this area. Admittedly, I was so excited. I was like, yes, oh man, it's gonna be great. So I was pouring some for myself as we went. So this is where I stopped my initial stream, because I was like, I need to go to bed. Like, I need to come back with a fresh mind. So yeah. After that though, I realized, like, I turned it on. I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. But yeah, cool. So yeah, light the way. Whatever, not a huge chapter. Trappist
could have did without it, but it was fine.
Yeah, I did really like this chapter, just because it kind of showed, I guess, it like the reactors weren't necessarily just like some sort of like, giant hole in the ground where, over like some little like one little like
a bridge over
yeah,
a pool of Mako.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's not all it was, I guess, at the end of the day. And then you can kind of see the airbuster and like, hey, this is gonna be a giant thing for you to fight. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
and
I thought sabotaging it was kind of cool.
I wholesomely agreed, and I also liked the mini game at the end of like the doing everything at the same time. It was, I think that was a good,
I forgot to write that down, and I was like, oh, they actually went there.
Yeah. Excuse me. Weird burp. Hey, like a slightly not big dinner, but like a hard. I don't want to say a very carb heavy dinner. But yeah. Really liked that part because it was just like it's completely unnecessary, but at the end of the day, it's like one of those. There's a throwback because they could throw back basically. I thought so. Yeah. Yo, what's up, Smorgas? But yeah, pretty.
Airbuster was badass.
Yeah, Airbuster was badass. I was a little bit annoyed. Like I think that's where I like the one boss like fight where I was like, this is so spongy, right? Like he just has so much health and all this stuff, and like I wasn't really aware of the best way to fight still, and I felt like all I'm doing for me, I felt like mostly what I was doing was like charge up my ATB, use thunder, charge up my ATB, use thunder, try to avoid attacks. Like it was a little bit drawn out for what abilities I did have, and could have been a little bit like a little bit better. And had I actually analyzed the combat and knowing what I know now, it'll probably be a lot more fun. But with that, I was kind of like I was a little bit scared at that point for what.
Yeah, I don't think it was until Reno that I started actually.
Yes, literally
realize how I wanted to fight enemies with certain characters.
And there was a pacing to it, more or less. Not just like it's not just a Kingdom Hearts thing where I've got to mash, dodge here and there, and then keep mashing. Right. It's definitely I have to like use my abilities and like try to, kind of piece together the fights so that I can, progress, get some stagger them, and do shit ton of damage basically. So so definitely a very good overall chapter. I felt like, and like really like kind of hit the nail on the head on like what we were trying to do more, or what they tried to do in the first OG. And no whispers, so I'm happy there.
No whispers.
I
wrote down the President Shinra not coming to the reactor. I thought was much more fitting for his character.
Yes, exactly.
He's the president of Shinra. He's not coming down to the reactor to talk to 3 terrorists from the slums.
Yep, exactly. He's just like, yep, you guys are a part of a plan that's just going to make us more powerful. So
he was just like, you guys are beneath.
Sayonara. Yeah. So, and I really like Heidegger's character. Like they introduced him more and just kind of make him really that kind of like pompous asshole that he is in the OG, and like really show that in his like his character in general. So
Marcus Phoenix.
Yeah. So
I didn't realize that was the voice actor.
Oh really? That's the voice actor.
Yeah.
I've never played a Gears of War game, so that's interesting. Wait, Marcus Phoenix is Gears of War, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. I've never played one, so I was just like, I know the name, but I don't know the name. So, yeah. Japanese VA for Reno passed away recently. He also voiced Axel. Well, speak of the devil.
I saw that.
Yeah. Rip in peace, man. Which rip in peace makes me sound like an ass, I guess. But yeah, F in the chat for the voice actor, because oh man, that is kind of sad though. Like like somebody that's like could have been such a long-standing person for the series had that happen, but that's terrible. But yeah.
So I guess speaking of Reno, Chapter 8, Lighting Bodyguard.
Yeah, I felt like in the beginning. So I think I got scared, I will say, in Chapter 2 with Aerith's voice. At first I was like, I don't know, like it just didn't click, I guess, with how she talked and all this other stuff, and like what I expected her to sound like, I guess, was a little bit spooky, but she grew on me for sure. And like I did like the interactions. And
I wrote a bullet point here. Aerith dialogue was fantastic.
Oh, it was very good. Yeah, it was very, very good. Yeah, I think this is the first real instance of me mauling a lot too, as Hammer said, because like I kind of sucked at the Reno fight, and then I started to break it down more, like actually using my blocks and like fire and stuff like that to really break through and actually make the fight more of a dance, right, than just me mashing basically and trying to be like, well, why aren't I'm hitting you with this giant ass sword? How come you can hit me with like your slightly little staticky, police baton and I go down, sort of deal. But yeah, it did show that Reno was more of like, than it makes the Turks seem like less of pushovers than I kind of envisioned them to be from the OG. Because the OG, I'm just like, oh, it's the Turks, like, smack them around and we're done. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But
the speed run is like throw 3 grenades and be done.
Oh really?
I think the pillar fight you just like throw grenades at Reno.
Yeah. I think that is exactly it. But this is I think that that first instance to me of like really good, like the dialogue is starting to shine because like Reno, like you can tell Reno is kind of like he's got like a little one-up thing going on with Cloud. Who's like, oh, you're a first-class soldier. Well, fuck you. You're not a first class. I don't know who you are. Get out of here. Like, you know, like challenging him in a way. Like, yeah. So.
Yeah, I find it funny that you were like, oh, I had trouble with Reno because I had no trouble with Reno.
Really?
And the reason why is I did half the fight in Punisher stance with the guard counter.
Yep.
And then you were telling me you didn't even know that.
I didn't even know that was a thing. But that was funny because I don't know. I find the dichotomy funny of like how you had trouble with the Whispers fights at the end and like trying to use the counter stance, and I was like, well, I used the ability counter stance and I just melted their health, like all of them basically. You could just use it everywhere. I used it on Sephiroth too.
Yeah,
and
as soon as you said that, I was like, holy crap,
yeah,
that sounds so good.
Yeah, it was so easy. Like, not so easy, but it was like, yeah, when I fought him, I was like, oh yeah, just start with the Rubrum one because he's just going to keep slashing at me, and I know it works, so there's one down, and let's just do the rest. So yeah, it was very interesting. What pissed me off even more was like the Whispers section here, because I was like, there's a lot of Whispers. Why are there so many? Why are they just everywhere? Stop it. Like, just let me throw my barrels and then we're good. The Whispers here really started to become annoying to me at the end of the day, because I was like,
this is the next Whisper section. They protected Aerith from falling off the ledge.
Yeah, so I don't think I noticed that the first time, but yeah, for sure I was like, I don't know. Yeah, and I agree with Hammer. Like, they seem so weirdly poorly rendered, right? At the end of the day, like, it was kind of just like, you seem like you're just there, like you're just some sort of object that's floating around that could have been like more of, I guess, a Dementor style, I guess would have been a better way to describe it. But I think they wanted them to be extremely visible and just kind of in your face almost, and not as kind of wispy, I guess, and so they don't seem they seem physical, not
right.
You know, something you just pass through, I
not
guess.
ethereal or whatever.
Yeah, yes, good word. Yeah, so that was interesting.
Well, it's not the big vocabulary for this.
Yeah, six got that galaxy brain vocabulary. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Reno was excellent. I loved the Turks battle music.
Yeah,
I thought that was a cool little thing.
Yeah, I feel like you paid a lot more attention to, like, battle music for me. Like, I don't remember almost any of it.
Like, every fight had its own battle theme. I thought that was awesome.
That's pretty great, huh? Yeah, I think I'll have, like, when I do replay, I'll definitely pay attention to that more, because I'm gonna be I think in the next week I'll be starting hard mode. So. Yeah, and I think I'll be paying attention more then. But they stop you from killing Reno. I thought it was Aerith that stopped you from killing Reno, right? Like, you were about to like literally lop off his head, and Aerith was like, no.
She says no, and then the Whispers pull you into the room.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Because then the guards walk in, they were like, what the hell?
Yeah. How did they just fly out of here? And it's like, whatever, dude. Like, yeah. I really hope I hope you're right with the Whispers thing, and that we killed them and they're done. Like, just please, like, no more. Please, stop. I don't need Kingdom Hearts levels of, like, not bullshit, but, like, crap going on, right? So, yeah.
So what else did I write here? I wrote, yet again, maybe one too many side quests. There was just a lot of running around in this section, because the Sector 5 slums, you had to go up ladders, go across all these, shimmy along these things. Every time it's like, go to the end of the slums to kill this thing for the side quest. I was like, not again.
And then walk into, like, the kids section to talk to the Moogle person.
Shimmy along that wall to get in there.
And the shimmying on that wall was weird, because, like, this is a weird nitpick, but, like, you press forward to shimmy, and then all of a sudden, halfway through the shimmy, it stops shimmying because you have to adjust it like a quarter of a degree.
The camera turns.
Yeah, and it's like, well, stop with the tankiness. Like, you can't, like, just go. Like, make this simple for me. So
yeah, it's another section where it just slowed down because of the side quests. And again, they're optional, so I'm not gonna nitpick it, but they're like pseudo optional, right?
Yeah,
because
like,
the second you try to move on, it's like, are you sure? Because you can't ever do this again.
You're making me think about it. Like, what the hell? Yeah, exactly. So.
Rude was there. Rude is probably one of my favorite characters in the remake.
I really enjoyed Rude, like, a lot.
Oh my god, he's so
I have
good.
so much, like in the pillar section with him in the helicopter, I was like, this is absolutely amazing. Like, I loved this. Like, yeah, I think Rude's character is very well done, and they fleshed him out extremely well. Especially when you break his glasses and he whips out the other pair, and it's like, yes, this is exactly what he does. Like, he always has an extra pair of glasses because he's Rude.
He's this badass, and he just does those goofy things. Or like, and you're like, oh my god, he's such a goof on the inside.
Yeah, it's so great. But yeah.
Oh, I wrote down here. So chapter 8, I went back and was rewatching a little bit. I wrote down flower speech. Because this is where Aerith is talking to the flowers.
Right.
And I should have wrote down what she said, but she said something along the lines of, because she's like, oh, you wouldn't believe me. I was like, tell me anyways. And she said something along the lines of, the flowers have something really important they need to tell us, but they can't yet. There's something that still needs to be done. And then she like clenches her fist.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Knowing what we know playing the whole game, it's just that really stuck out to me as like, what was that?
Yeah, I think this is where...
something that needed to be done, killing the Whispers, or is she still talking about her death?
Yeah, and I think that's my biggest thing is that like all of a sudden Aerith is like kind of like she's got like not an omnipresence. She knows, right? It's like she's aware. Yeah. Like she knows that she knows almost too much. And Hammer's right. Like she knows way too much for everything that's going on, and it's like she's kind of like I'm trying to think of a good word and I can't, but she's kind of like a driving force in the game of stuff, like omniscient is the right word. She's like kind of omniscient of everything that's going on, and it's like Aerith wasn't this omniscient in the initial game. Like how all of a sudden is she got like, you know...
I think they're trying to play up that the life stream and the planet know everything, and she's gaining knowledge by talking to the planet. That the planet is kind of telling her this. They just never say anything like that, so she's just spouting all this knowledge, and you're like, where are you getting this?
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're trying to play up that she's getting this from the planet.
Now, Hammer, every time they touch her, is that... I thought that was the Whispers.
That was the Whispers, yeah.
Like, she knows, like, what her fate's gonna be, and so she's like... How is she losing part of herself? Like, what is she losing? You know what I mean? Like, you can't just say these things and not, like... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, give me, like, what's the trade-off here, you know, more or less? Like, is she gonna... Does she still die? Like, do we prevent her death, but her death changes? Like, because that's the thing is, like, Hammer and I were talking about it, is like, well, her dying in the first game, while a terrible thing, it kind of set the tone, right, of the end of this one. Like, it is some heavy shit. Like, it's not just like you just, you know, some off character dies and Cloud goes. No, it's not like what's that character with Barret? Dying? It's not like Dying with Barret, where it's like, yes, he's got like a much more backstory, and it kind of wraps up his, like, you know, his growth in a way, but like, or like in that section, but it's like Aerith really is like a driving force in the game, so
it's the centerpiece of the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, so like if she doesn't,
it's the motivation to kill Sephiroth.
And like that's how we know Sephiroth is like pure fucking evil. Like in the beginning, you're just like, Sephiroth's Cloud knows that he's bad news because of his experience in Nibble with everything that happened, right? So like why are we all of a sudden now knowing that Sephiroth is like this great evil being that's gonna do something? Because they don't even say what he's gonna do yet. Because we know in the other one, we learn that we eventually learn that he's gonna destroy the planet. This one, he's like, Sephiroth's just fucking evil. We gotta kill him. And it's like, well, like, or they say he's the greatest.
Killed President Shinra. Yeah, well, we were gonna do that.
Yeah, like we're gonna do that anyway. But yeah, that was.
Yeah, I guess yet again. We'll get to that when we get to the chapter, I guess.
Sorry. Yeah, I feel like the late game stuff's where I start, like, I want to roll
I know.
all day. But yes, okay, The Town That Never Sleeps, Sector 6.
This started with Cloud crying, which I thought was weird. The tear, when he, like, has PTSD and he has the tear roll down his eye.
Oh, was that from... Oh, it's because you see the village burning, don't you?
No, you don't see anything. This is like, he leaves Aerith's house, she meets him, she's like, I'm not sick of you yet. And then he gets PTSD and sheds a tear.
Really? I don't remember that.
And I think it was like alluding to like he saw what happens to her or something.
I guess, yeah.
Because I think was just like, they did, alright, that's weird. Let's not include that maybe.
There might be variations on that. That'd be interesting to see. But yeah, that is interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
Let me real quick. There we go. there's a lot. I got to turn on chat for the stream, so people can actually, because Homer's providing some good points that I'm not thinking of, and he's like rounding out my thoughts. But yeah, yeah. I mean, going to Wall Market and stuff was super fun. So I really did enjoy Wall Market. I thought obviously the Madam M scene was like, it's weird, but I feel like they try to do that sometimes with the games. It's
what Final Fantasy VII is. I mean, that's what it was, right? Just weird, silly goofiness mixed in. Really quickly though, before Wall Market, the crane puzzle sucked ass. I hated that part. The first one was okay. By the time we got to the third one, I was like, no more crane puzzles.
No more crane puzzles, please. Yeah. I definitely.
I was like, the first one, cool. There's the crane in the hand, and the second one, I was like, okay, and the third one, I was like, oh.
Now you're just drawing it out more or less. Like you're making me thankful that there's no more crane puzzles, aren't you? Basically. But yeah, the crane. Yeah, I didn't do very well on the crane puzzles. As soon as I got the magnify materia, like, I guess I was a lot less confused about what Magnify was, because I went and looked at material. I was like, oh, this is all, and it just didn't bother me. And then, like, later I was like...
The only one you're gonna get.
Yeah, the only one you're gonna get. It's like, well, this is dumb. I mean, why they didn't call it all just, like, bothers me to no end. But I think it is different because I don't know if it maxes out at 3 targets. That's what I've kind of been reading into, is it might, but it really only affects stuff that's in the vicinity of your current target.
Yeah.
So like it's not truly an all.
Not really
material.
all.
Yeah, it is truly like a magnify. So like the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. But just make it all, damn it. Like just
give me at least one more.
Yeah, like 2 perfect. 1, like You're making me think too much about it. is my feel, like, because there's already not enough. I don't say not enough blue materia in the game, but there really isn't that much, right? Like to really use. Like you've got some warding, you've got like 2 or 3 wardings, you got an elemental, AP up, and magnify, and I think that's all 5 of the blue materia. So it's like, if it's DLC, Nomura, stop with the money grabs, please.
So let's see. In the original FF7, you found an all materia. In the Sector 7 slums, you found 1 on Shinra headquarters, floor 63. Red 13 came with 1. And the cargo ship was the next time.
Really?
So in the original,
there were 3.
We should have gotten 3.
Okay. Which that seems fine. Like 3 would have been perfect almost.
Yeah.
Because then you get a barrier, a cure, and like time. Because we get time materia so early, like it's gonna be great. Like that would have been awesome, because then you can buff up, right? Because like I felt like some of the things, it was like, oh yeah, you can have like breach materia or sleep materia, or those sorts of things. Like, well, I'd love to use this stuff, but like it really doesn't help that much at the end of the day if I can't, you know what I mean, kind of give everybody these buffs if I'm going to either 1, give them to them, or B, remove them, right? So
yeah, I'd love to cast haste on everybody, but
I can't. And yeah, I did use poison a few times, and that did help with some of the bosses, but at the end of the day, I was like, this isn't really... It did help, but it didn't do that much, I feel like, at the end of the day, so...
It's not like FF13 poison, where you can just win the game with it.
Yeah, exactly. So, 7R final mix, please no.
Oh, no.
Please no.
But yeah, I was unbelievably impressed with Wall Market. For a section that people thought wasn't even gonna make it into the game, they knocked it out of the park.
They really did. The Coliseum, I thought at first, I was like, this is dumb, and then we fought Hell House, and I was like, this is great, and then I fought Hell House, and I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah, I really want to go back and fight it again.
Yeah.
Now that I think I know how the fight works, it might be better. Yeah. My first run through though was a mess.
Yep. It wasn't until like the last like third of the fight that I was like, oh, it's giving me hints on what magic to use on it to pressure it. Wow. And then like it became better, and I actually finished it off. But that would have been much better to know at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I actually, as you can see, I'm missing a music track here. Apparently, the last music track I'm missing is on the practice for the Andreas scene. You have to go in, and if you get 10 greats on it, then you get the track. And I think it's the Turks theme. I think I looked it up. So that was interesting. I also found out. Are you ready for spoilers, right, Zick?
Yeah.
So I didn't do the Coliseum fights because I was like, that's Coliseum fights. That's stupid. Whatever. I don't care. Like, that's side content that doesn't need to be done.
Right.
What are they going to give me? That's where you get level 2 limit breaks.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, I was in Distortion 2's chat earlier today, and he was fighting Leviathan. He did Leviathan at like level like 28, 29. Or maybe it was 25, 26 with most of his characters, and I was like, he's going to be at this for like an hour or two, and it's not going to work. And then he did it within like 30 minutes, and he just used Mana Wall with Magnify, and it worked out fine. So I was like, wow, that's super smart, and he's a good player, so I thought that was interesting. And then people told him, like, that's how you get level 2 limit breaks, and I was like, oh, wish I would have known that.
Yeah, that's
but apparently
cool.
they're OP as hell, according to some of the people. Like, Tifa can do multiple that hits in the thousands with them, so yeah, that'll be very interesting to see, but exciting in a way. Like, that's like the side content that I'm like going to do now after we get done with this.
But I like that.
Yeah.
I like that they don't guide you to everything.
Yeah, it's like you do have to want to do it.
You can play through all OG7 and be like, why do I still only have cross slash? Where is everything else?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Or like you're just kind of unlocking as you go, and like you have some level 2 limit breaks, or like, you know, the second limit break for level 2 and level 3, but you don't. It's kind of a mix and match. And yeah, it's not easy
because you have to go actually find the others.
Yep, exactly, for the level 4s. But
yeah, so I thought that was nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's fun. But yeah, otherwise I did like Wall Market. I did like, I thought the Honeybee Inn was interesting, but I mean, I feel like the whole dance section was kind of like a Japan likes that, so they're gonna do that with Japan.
Yeah, at first I was like, but I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah,
but looking back on it, I'm like, it's just dumb fun. I don't mind
exactly.
it at
It's
all.
just silly fun. Like I'm not
it's
gonna.
Walmart.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hate on it for any reason at all. So
we did a quest looking for the sauce. I mean,
yeah, the sauce. I did like that you actually go through and do everything, but I wasn't as big on like you find the right answers, I guess, versus like Cloud's like holding the materia, like swirling around in his hand, kind of like, oh yeah, boys, what's happening? And like it's like based on the level of your materia, and I'm like, well, I don't know, like they're all the same level 2. Like, what's my best materia? I don't know. Like,
which I've seen people that get it right, and it still doesn't matter.
Yeah,
the NPC's like, oh, good job, thank you. I don't have the thing still.
Yeah.
And so I was like, then what's the point?
Yeah. Why am
you know, if you actually get the guy the sauce, he's like, okay, cool, but I still don't have the card. And you're like, then why did we go through all this?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's
like the Jessie decision whether you want to come back to her apartment the next day. It means nothing. I mean, it's like there's no consequence.
I will.
But... I mean, I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there. But yeah. Yeah, Wall Market was fun, and then I think we discovered that no matter what, Cloud is the one that gets picked, right? And then
I've never seen anybody not get Cloud picked.
Yeah, so I actually explored the rest of Corneo's mansion while I was there, but you know, hey, that's fine.
Like they even included the creepy rape dungeon.
Yeah, exactly. Like yeah, it's like
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is perfect. I was like pointing that out to like Hummer and Bane in the chat. I was like, Bane, come look at this. They're like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, you gotta be kinky.
It's Don Corneo's creepy rape dungeon.
Yeah, it's like it's wrong, but in all the right ways.
I liked that there were different dresses.
Yes, I thought that was pretty cool. As soon as you told me there were different dresses, I was like, what in the hell?
Yeah, it was such a cool experience to pop in your stream and be like, that's not what I got. Wait.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So it's nice that they add those like little details of there are differences, and not just in Cloud's dress or like how Cloud dresses. So
some choices you make actually influence what you do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was silly seeing the reaction. Yeah. It was fun. It was a good time. But yeah, what else was there in Wall Market? Coliseum, Honeybee. The Johnny portions were like, whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, like the fights were fun. Oh yeah, and Cloud turked a little bit. Yeah. The dance was fine. We get to Corneo. Like it all seemed like that was kind of the section I think that was like they expanded it enough, but I got to see everything that I wanted, and I really enjoyed it. So like I loved all that whole piece. So yeah, that was great. But yeah, Rough Waters. So the Abzu fight at first I didn't like a lot, because I was like, when he did his back, I died once to the backwater splash, or that that comes out of the pipes, and I was like, well, this is dumb. I can't avoid this. How am I not going to die? And then I realized that it's coming from a certain section of the pipes, and I can actually get out. I can avoid it, and I think I realized that's again the next step in the combat of like it's not just like 10-2 where your characters are kind of just sitting where they sit and you can't control them, or 10 where you can only really control one. Like they're actually pretty smart about getting out of the way of things more or less, and like blocking when they need to block, and you can avoid big ass attacks like that and not just have to tank damage more or less. So I really did enjoy that. The rest of it was kind of okay. It felt kind of drawn out, but like I think my justification for drawn out things is it's obviously a bigger place, like I've said, so they've got to make it longer in that aspect. So
yeah,
not the worst area, but obviously there's the part 2 that we all know and love more or less.
Oh yeah. The only thing I didn't like, so I wrote down, there's the stupid section, the little pump mini game that you do.
Yeah. It's like
where it's like,
what is this?
The whole thing was weird.
Yeah.
It's like Tifa and Aerith are like, we gotta go do this by ourselves. You're not invited, Cloud. It's like, ooh, we're getting girl talk, and then they don't.
It's just like they're just like
you just do this stupid mini game.
It's relationship building in quotes, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, they're gonna high five and like girl talk, but not. So yeah,
I thought we were gonna get some like, oh, we're gonna expand on Tifa and Aerith's relationship,
and like who's gonna get Cloud and all this other stuff, like
we just did a stupid mini game I didn't care about.
Yeah, and then the Sahagin thing at the very end was a little weird, but whatever. Like,
I wrote this down. I don't know where this was said, but I wrote it down, so it must have been said in chapter 10. But Aerith says in chapter 10, I think it's after the pump thing actually. They're talking about the pillar. And Aerith says, the future isn't always set in stone. And I was like, ooh, they started this back in chapter 10, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. I guess so. Because I kind of do remember that, but I'm not like, I guess I didn't make note of it quite yet.
Yeah.
Because I was expecting, like, I was like, yeah,
but back then you're just like, oh, Aerith, you're so silly.
You're so silly. You think
we know what's happening.
It's like it's not like the planet's gonna die. We're gonna stop meteor. That's the future's not set in stone. Not there is no meteor. Like I don't know. I didn't realize the grand scale of the future is not set in stone quite yet. Like that was interesting. But yeah, so that was chapter 10.
Not bad.
Yeah,
chapter 11 is haunted.
Yeah, in more ways than one. Like. I get why you're annoyed at this.
All I said was it didn't need a second boss.
Yeah.
If you just, the whole thing could have played out the same, just without Eligor or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. I just didn't think there need. I loved the ghost boss, and I thought it was fitting. It just Eligor felt he came out. I was like, what is this thing?
Yeah, it's
Where
like
are you coming from?
Just fight the chariot from Dark Souls 2, and here you are.
Yeah,
like
I was like, the ghost is fitting, but where did you come from?
Yeah, it's like there really isn't plot, and I thought this is how they're gonna be like, oh, Aerith like talks to dead people more or less, but like it really didn't change anything. It's like, I hear the whispers too, and you're like, okay, great, you could have just done that with the damn whispers and like all this other stuff. Like, why are we talking to dead people now? Like, I feel like they felt like Train Graveyard was more, I guess, a big deal than it was, maybe, and I'm not sure how to feel.
I mean, it's a
about
cool
that.
environment. I
Yeah,
think it's
very,
really
very.
cool
I really did enjoy it, and like the whole spookiness of it, more or less. But like, yeah, it was like, yeah, Hammer's right. There's really no plot progression here. It's just kind of like they could have knocked out, like you said, the second boss, totally fine without it. It would have been kind of a better lead-in, honestly, to the next chapter as like a more intense moment, because you're not just stopping to fight a boss to get to that section.
Like, we have to move.
Yes, exactly. So
not like we care about this little kid ghost.
Yeah,
that
it's like, sorry,
no one else
kid
really
ghost.
cares about.
Like, but other people gonna die too if we don't get.
Your friends are about to be ghosts.
Yeah, like exactly. So, yeah, that was interesting, but
it was just all this fluff that again it was like, while it's all right, I just don't think I care. Like,
yeah, there's no.
It was very forgettable. A lot of what happened there.
Yeah, like. I remember running around, and it's a later chapter, so I remember it more, but like, it's like, oh yeah, we run around, we see the train graveyard, and we see this other section. Aerith, like, is lonely. I'm sorry you're lonely, Aerith. And then we completely forget about it because we're at the pillar. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right. Because of what came next, it was like, oh, that was a nice section. Whoa, pillar. All right, forget that.
Yeah, it's completely out of my brain already. So yeah. sad, but hey, fight for survival. Man, it was
good
interesting.
Chapter.
Good chapter. I did like how Wedge didn't immediately die from falling, and he kind of lived. And I was like, oh, this is it. Like we get somebody to live. This is a bigger change, I would say, to where like one of them makes it out, and it's one of the characters that you're not as attached to that we're going to be able to grow on with. And like that's the first thought my brain went to. I was like, good, I get to experience the rest of Midgar with Wedge, and kind of cool. Remembering Jesse and Biggs and being like something to fight for, more or less, right? And then all of a sudden, like, he's with his cats, like, hanging out, and the Whispers are around him, and it's like, okay, great, so Wedge does die, just now because of stupid ghosts? Like, what the hell? Like, I was not a happy camper when that all happened, but, like, yeah. That, and I think, starting with complaints first, I guess, since I'm already doing it, but, like, when you're Aerith running through Sector 7, that's a lot of zigzagging and slow walking and kind of just chilling out in the bar while literally the pillar, like everything's on fire and all this other stuff, right? Like, why are we not, like, sense of urgency, Marlene and Aerith, like,
we need to hurry.
Yeah, like, there is no slow, like, and I get that she has to get Marlene to trust her, but at the end of the day, it's like, it seemed like make this a little less long and we're good. But when Sung showed up, it was like, damn it.
Yeah.
And then saving Betty.
Yeah, I mean, it was a kind of annoying that you were... I died when I was watching your stream, and you were like, we need to go. And then Barrett picks up Betty, and you literally go, oh my god.
Yeah. Like... I get it. Like, just hand her to somebody else and go. Like, there's other adults around. Like,
there are other adults.
Yeah.
Just stick her in somebody's hand and go,
more slow walking. Like, oh my goodness.
It was nice to see Aerith's like selflessness there and whatnot, but yeah, at the same time, it was like, you've got a job to do.
Yeah, like you're here for a reason. Like, let's go. But yeah, that was interesting. But
we had two. We had a couple. We had a bunch of whispers in this part though. We had a whisper fight at the beginning.
Yeah, we confused around. We actually thought that was Marlene at first too. Like, we were like, oh, like is this like this is Betty? And it was like, what? No, but why should she look like Marlene? Except it's the different clothes. Like Marlene can wear different clothes, guys. It's fine.
Aerith just gives away Marlene. So, here, take her.
Here you go. She gets to the bar and there's no kid there, and you're like, shit.
Barrett, I found Marlene. I gave her to a stranger.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But yeah, the whisper fight at the beginning was dumb. Like, I was like, why does this exist? Because I was sitting there just like melting the not good whisper, the not main whisper, trying to get it stagger down, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you don't kill it all the way and the fight just ends, and I'm like, okay, so we got rid of them? What's the point? And like, I guess thinking back on it now, it could have been like the whispers can be defeated in a way, but
yeah, I
don't know.
Well, again, we'll get to it at the end, but I think I get why that thought is there. But the Whispers were also there to protect Rude to drop the plate as well.
Yes. And I feel like that's the plot. That, I don't know. That's what I don't like about the Whispers, that they're just a plot device, right? They're just like an not an unintended plot device, but they're kind of just like a get out of jail free card that Nomura can just pull out of his back pocket and throw on the table, and he's got almost unlimited.
We don't know how to make this event happen. So the Whispers will make a wall, and the event will happen. Exactly.
It's just like, it's like we don't have to justify it in any way. It's just like, bam, here you go. It happens because Whispers. Suck it. Like, like, that's it. That's all we get. And I felt like that was such a poor thing. And like, they really, to me, have to make up for the Whispers in the part 2, because that was just like, you're not helping your cause, guys. Like, with what we're seeing here, like, that was the poor choice in plot driving devices, which there were some portions where like, like, I can get you forcing me to go only certain ways and like having to re-explore areas, but like, we never go back to the church in the OG, so like, why am I, you know what I mean? Like, why have them in the church, right? And so, I don't know, it was like, I felt like it was a kind of a cop-out in an aspect there, because they all like, look at how poorly rendered they are, like, but I mentioned that before, physical versus ethereal, so like, there's a lot you could jump around and make different points and guesses, but we don't know until we know, right? Because it's not the end of the game or the story at this part.
Chapter 12 has one of my favorite lines from Reno, though.
Yes.
Two birds, one shitload of bullets.
Yeah. Oh, that was your favorite line? That was really good. Line. I really let me see if I can go find that real quick.
Or are you talking about when he's jumping out of the plane, he goes, "It's nothing personal, bitch."
Yeah, exactly. Like when he said that, I was like, "Oh my god!" Like that's something I would actually say to somebody. Like obviously, I'm never gonna do anything like that in my life, but like,
but he's so cocky. So
yeah, exactly. He's nothing personal, bitch. Like, like that's such a
rude.
Yeah,
rude protecting Tifa.
Oh yeah, when
really
he like pulls that was nothing personal, kiddo. But yeah, that was like that was one of my point earlier with like how like they're foreshadowing like Rude admitting that he's got a crush on Tifa, and so he saves her by like pulling away, and he doesn't kill her whenever he like actually detonates the plate, more or less.
Right.
Like, he gives her the chance, right? And so I thought that was great. I absolutely loved that moment overall. But yeah, two birds, one shitload of bullets. Like yeah, Rude Rude and Reno have really great lines that really just like kind of expand everything in a really great way. And I really like how like you show that we beat the crap out of them, right? Like it's not like they try their best, but we still kick their asses because we're just better, basically, right? So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I forgot to write down one of the other greatest parts of Chapter 12. Kate Sith.
Oh, yes, you are so right. Yeah. As soon as
awesome.
It drops, I thought that was I thought that was weird that they showed Kate Sith and not Reeve, but at the same time in the OG, you don't necessarily like that it's Reeve, but you don't. And like I never really made the connection as a kid because I was like, who the hell is Reeve? Like I was like, he's just some random dude in this like he's a costume. What? Like I don't know. Like
he's a suit.
He's a suit. Like is he in the suit? I don't get it. Like, but I guess now that I know, it makes more sense that like Kate Sith is just remote controlled and is like it's Reeve's like struggle with his personal internal struggle with trying to actually do the citizens of Midgar well, right? Or like straight basically. But at the same time, like he's got a job. Like he can't if he doesn't do it. Who else is going to be responsible for it, more or less? And I think they touch on that later in the game with Sung, where they're sitting there where they're bored, like, did we have to drop the plate? And it's like, well, if we didn't do it, then who else would? Then they would have just made somebody else do it. And it's like, well, you're right. Like you got to be the bad guy, but like at the same, it's like that thing. It's like the Wreck-It Ralph thing, where it's like you may be a bad guy, but you're not a bad guy. Like it's like
I loved that scene where like Rude was like, we think that was a little much.
Yeah, so it's 12 was overall super good. Like Biggs, like the Biggs, I guess death. I don't know, like he died right there. I assumed he was dead. Like when he dropped his hand, it's not he's passed out. He's dead. Like I was like, yep, he's more or less. Which I guess they didn't show. Yeah, Jesse's scene. Oh god, that was so great. Like I felt like I actually ended up I teared up pretty hardcore after 12, like when they got back to Aerith's house at the end. That's when I teared up. But I think it kind of just like it was welling up from all of this building up because I was like, no, Biggs, no, Wedge, Jesse, stop. Like, and like she kisses the grenade.
Pizza.
Yeah, for a pizza. And like she kisses the grenade. You're like, oh god, no, it's gonna go wrong. She's so like, I don't know. It was like they really built out their relationship so well at the end of the day. What I did find out though from they did an AMA on Reddit, I think in the R Final Fantasy subreddit. The guy who voices Biggs also voices Balthier.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I didn't know it either because like his Reddit like username was voice of Balthier Biggs. So and then what was kind of sad is people were like, so how do you like voicing Balthier? And it's like, no, this is about the remake. Stop talking about 12. Like go ask him that somewhere else. DMs. But yeah, like that whole section was great. Like dialogue
was really well done.
It was really well done. Like the points that I like complained about, I will say in the beginning, like don't really like it. Just what happens actually doesn't take away from, I guess, the magnitude of it all. Especially like the very last scene where you're like going through everything and like like all the explosions and stuff. The cutscene there was, oh my god, that was intense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know they get out, and obviously as the protagonist, you know they get out, but it's just like, whoa, this is a lot more boom, boom, boom than you know, like this is huge. They make it. The grander scale is crazy.
Yeah, same thing like in Mako Reactor 5. I liked that Sung didn't actually come to the pillar because his priority is Aerith. He got Aerith and he went back to the Shinra building and he just like phoned it in.
Yep.
I was like, that's more realistic. We didn't get I almost forgot about this. They took out Sung backhanding Aerith.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That was in the original.
That was in the original, wasn't it?
Yeah, he backhands her.
Man, times have changed.
Because she starts telling Barrett about Marlene and he smacks her.
Yeah, wow. Well, I think that's honestly like a better thing to do because like she's supposed to be like a high priority. Like, you know, I feel like the reason they want Aerith and why they didn't just like force her to be at like, you know, like Shinra Tower all of her life is it makes much more sense. Like she had to come willingly. If she didn't come willingly, it wouldn't have helped. And then now we have that reasoning. They're like, although they're assholes, they're treating her with like, you know, some feigned respect of we gotta treat you right in some aspects. We can't just, you know, mess around with this, basically, right?
And I like that reasoning because, like, while it seems silly, like, oh, it's just a cop out to why they kept Barrett safe. It's like they're so like attached to this silly prophecy that they'll do anything to make it come true. So I believe that they think they have to treat her with care to get the prophecy.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, 100% agree there. So yeah, good world building in this section here. So overall pretty great. So chapter 13 was like they tried to circumvent Calm in a way to me because now they're introducing like the weird like, I don't want to call them toad things, but like, you know, reptilian dudes are now the guys that they introduced in Calm, where, you know, Cloud has a flashback of the guys that are in the things, right? In the
yeah.
So like, I thought they looked kind of silly. Like, it's not that they were not bad. It's just they looked more monstrous in the cutscenes, right? Where like Cloud actually like lifts himself up and like looks into the thing and sees like the face of the dude. Like that scared me as a kid.
Yeah.
But, like now they just kind of look like, you know,
dude, I didn't even want to look in that pod when I was a kid.
I know. Like, yeah, every time it happened, I was like, and turn away, and turn back. Oh, we're gone. The pod's gone. Yeah, like it scared the living crap out of me. But these are just like, well, now they just look like, I guess Humber pointed it out well, like when I was streaming it, was like they kind of just look like a Final Fantasy 15, like
they look exactly like something out of FF15.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, so that's just what they are now. Like they're not like you can tell they're human, but they're not really human. You know, like they're not like. Yeah, they're not as scary looking, I guess, which kind of
I'll tell you, if they were gonna go that route, I wish, because they like glowed red. I wish they at least glowed green for the Mako.
Yeah, that would have been it. Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's some sort of reference to the fact that they're like basically gone through Mako poisoning and transformation, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what they introduced in chapter 12, I got annoyed because like, well. Like, okay, well, Wedge lived, but guess what? He died somehow differently because of the Whisperers. But no, wait, he's not dead. He fell in a hole.
He fell in a hole.
Yeah, and it's like, why? What? Like, this felt completely unnecessary. Just like it wasn't.
Yeah, I wrote down it was fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was just, it was a part.
Yeah.
It was like, so it was neat that they referenced it back in chapter 1. I don't know if you remember when you get your quest from Weimer about the dog. That he was like. Cloud's like, where did that dog even come from? He's like, I don't know. There's rumors there's a Shinra lab underneath Sector 7.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was when you fight that white Shinra dog.
Oh, like the jacked panther? Yeah, I remember.
Like, where did that thing even come from? And he's like, I don't know. I've heard there's a lab underneath of us, but that's just rumors.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess that makes sense then. Because, like, for sure it was like, you know, there. And, like, I guess it felt kind of random to me, but I didn't catch that one part, I guess, because I was like mashing through text probably.
There's a lot of things you'll catch on a second. Yeah, I know you were mashing through text because I caught you at the Leaf House and you were like, oh, I saw Biggs, that seemed important. I was like, you skipped the important part. You did the whole side quest, you missed the story.
Yeah.
You did all the boring stuff, you're like, oh, this is the interesting stuff? Skip it.
Yeah. I got a knack for that.
I was like, I only want to talk to Mrs. Viola when she's a stripper. Forget all this crap.
Yeah, no, I only care when she's like in her honeybee costume. Like, let's go, girl. Dance time. But yeah, that was.
This chapter's okay. This was a chapter though that I thought. I keep forgetting his name, but Barrett's voice actor. I think he did an awesome job.
Oh yeah, he killed it in this section. Like, the more I hear that was my thing, is the more I heard Barret talk and like actually, you know, go through dialogue and stuff, I was just like, I love everything he has to say so much, and it was so great. So yeah, I began to really appreciate Barret in that section. Like, even with all the boxes and stuff, like I actually appreciated like fighting as Barret and Barret's character as well. So that was super fun. So yeah, not the worst. I felt like it was kind of like, I felt this chapter was misplaced, more or less. It was like, why are we doing this now and not later? And I think that's a kind of the this will allude to like the overall portions of when we get to the end of like, why are we learning things so early, and where we could, like, there's the possibility of just forgetting this information, right? Because if the next section doesn't come out for another 2 years, well, who the hell's gonna, like, people come back and play it, but if somebody's fresh, like, how we're gonna miss too much, and like you're not pacing the story right. But we'll move on. So In Search of Hope,
my favorite chapter.
So so what happened? So yeah, In Search of Hope was another side quest one, right?
This is the side quests and the sewers.
Yeah. And like, so I did all the side quests. The side quests were like, you got to explore basically the entirety of the map, quote unquote. Got to do Tifa pull-ups, and then I guess this is where it get more Coliseum stuff. But it was like, yeah, we should probably just talk about the. I guess they did have good background in the side quests, because they were like talking about how like there's a reporter from the top of the plate that's like from a Shinra journalist, basically like a Shinra backed like journalism company, or like, you know, paper basically, that's down there and like expanding on the universe. But I guess the recap is kind of just like, you know, hey, we gotta go somewhere, and that's really it. And it's like, by the way, there's Leslie, and he's got a fiance, and who the hell is he?
Homer's right. Even the description of the chapter is like, you do stuff.
Yeah, like stuff happens, and then you know, we know Aerith has to be found. Great. We knew that already. Like, this
is literally a side quest chapter. Yeah. And you know, my favorite part of the game.
Yeah.
Sewers Part 2. I already laid it out. Like, it was just too long.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that they wanted to expand on Leslie, and I was interested in it for the most part. But like, chasing the Shotes around got old like within a minute.
Yeah. It was classic just filler for the most part.
All throughout the sewers, you ran into battles that you couldn't run from because you had to go down a ladder to the next sections. You're like, fuck me, gotta kill these stupid Sahagins, or these stupid crabs that reflect my attack.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and just pounce me again.
Oh, look, I'm a toad now, and Tifa's asleep. I'm having a blast.
I'm having a blast. Status. Like,
I didn't like Sewers 2. I think it could have been half of what it was. I thought fighting Abzu again just felt, I don't know, it just wasn't exciting to me.
Yeah.
I was like, it just felt like they're like, we need a boss. So Abzu still has a horn.
Yeah,
so...
he's got a tail too.
It's just, I was like, why are we doing this again?
Yeah. It's kind of annoyed when I fought Abzu the first time. I was like, why can I only break one of his horns? And then we get Abzu 2, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
Because they want to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like why are we fighting another boss? Like Homer said, like when we've got Eligor.
When you have Horse Chariot in Train Graveyard.
Yeah, like just
you apparently can
that.
just throw in bosses.
Yeah, there's dead people in the sewers, right? Like, like, yeah, because Don Corneo kills all these people with the sewers. So why are we not fighting that? You know?
Yeah, there's ghosts in the sewers.
So that probably would have been a good like alternative, I guess. But yeah, that was this chapter is just like nothing to say. Not great things to say, but I'm just gonna say whatever.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't hate it, but I definitely didn't like it.
Yep. Alright, so the day Midgar stood still. This part was interesting. I liked the end boss and how it was the second portion of the tank boss from the elevator.
Heligunner, yeah.
Yeah, the Heligunner, but like it was, I don't know. It was interesting. I started it off because the weapon I got from Barret most recently was a physical weapon, or like it was the wrecking ball. So it's like, just use the wrecking ball real quick and it'll be fine. And then like 2 battles in, I was like, there's so many heli enemies that are flying around.
Heli gunners and drakes.
Yeah, I was like, this is not gonna work. So I abandoned that as soon as I could, which I think I just got the proficiency in one. I was like, bam, we're done. So yeah, it wasn't really. It was kind of. It wasn't filler. I think it was more of like getting to the top of the whole thing was fine, and the boss was fun. Like I felt like it was a good boss that like had a fun mechanic to like like. You're not just in a turn-based battle anymore. You are in like a 3D space in an arena, so it shoots itself with its own laser. Awesome, like like that's a cool piece, and it wasn't hard to do. Like you could bait it pretty easily and get out of the way because the dodges weren't completely useless like Aerith's dodge, but like yeah, like it did.
Barrett's dodge kind of sucked too.
Yeah, his dodge is just weak, but it works sometimes, but I feel like he's supposed to be a tanky boy, so like it's fine. Whereas Aerith should be like popping around like she's a a ballet dancer, right, in my mind. But not the little circle hops that she does that basically is still gets hit no matter what. So yeah, that was interesting. But overall, good.
I just wrote it was a great chapter. It was cool to see how they adapted what is in the OG just literally piles of garbage.
Yep.
It just like is random screens of stuff, and I was like, how are they really even gonna do that?
I did realize though that like the entire background was like a pre-rendered 2D image.
Oh my god, it was pretty noticeable.
Yeah, it was really noticeable that it was that, and I was like, it makes sense. They're trying to show you some giant expanse of destruction. Right. So like, yes, it makes sense that it's pre-rendered, but like,
pretty low quality.
Yeah, it was like
it looked like the flowers.
Yeah, it was like, this is very easy to notice. Like, sorry guys, but yeah,
it's like it was that in on chapter select just blown up.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it was. Yeah, and it's like just the entire way around. So yeah,
they just stretched it. It was like, it's fine.
That's okay. Like this will do. Like, we focus so much on pre-rendering the last fights and cutscenes. Let's just we can make do with this.
No one wants to look at the ruins of Sector 7, even though that's what the climb is about. Seeing the aftermath of the plate falling,
and like all of like the death and destruction and those sorts of things. So. Even the back of the pillar of the reactor chapter when you look down. I'd have to re-look at that to know for sure, but...
It was, or at least maybe we're not thinking at the same spot, Hammer, but the sun lamps part. I remember looking down and being like, that looks like shit.
Yes.
Like, I could see the seams where two textures weren't meeting up, and I was like, that looks like shit.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I did not notice that part, but... Again, I was pretty litty by that point. So when I replay hard mode, I'll
yeah, just look, because you do like the walk on the one board part, and Barrett's like, don't look down. I was like, yeah, don't look down because it looks like garbage.
That's so great though. Oh man, but yeah, it was a pretty simple chapter overall, but kind of gets the job done. So, all right, the belly of the beast.
So this is where my notes started to slim down. And all I wrote in all caps was stairs.
Stairs. Yes, the stairs scene was really good. So my thing was, so I was running with Cloud immediately from the beginning, assuming that you could do what you do in the original. It's just Cloud's he's a champ, he's got Mako reactor, he's got Mako in him and stuff. He's going, but no, at the end, like he's walking the entire way, and I barely beat Barret. Like up the last stairs, and I was like, oh crap, maybe you can like conserve
can you
stamina?
Like pace yourself?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, can you? Like, it's
I did the same thing as you. I just started sprinting.
Yeah, so I'd be interested who, like, I guess in hard mode I'll take the elevator, like, like just to see what it's like, I guess. But because even in the OG I think in the OG a lot before I figured out the stairs were a thing, I always took the elevator, but now I take the stairs because like once you take the elevator, it's like you're going up, blah, like the whole like you go up to different floors and fight people and stuff. But obviously you're supposed to be like inconspicuous in this version. Also, getting into the like center area with the key card, the Tifa hopping around thing, completely annoying. Just get the key card. Let's go. Come on, like that was stalling. That was filler. Like please don't make me do that again.
I would have liked there to have been, because as far as I know there's not a way, I would have liked there had been a way that you could have actually succeeded the first time.
Yes,
And so like on your second playthrough, you're like, oh, I know, like they make it tricky. So on your first playthrough, you like fall and you're like, oh, I see what I could have done. And so like on your second playthrough, you can like actually do it right. But as far as I know, you have to do the hand over hand section every time.
Yeah,
I could have done without it.
Yeah. Oh man, that would have been annoying. That will be annoying, I should say, to redo, but we shall see. But yeah, like that portion was just like come on guys, let's move on here. I did like though how you could see the motorcycle that Cloud uses as well as
the truck
and the truck, and the derpy truck. So yeah, that was pretty fun. But yeah, so that was
Shinra HQ was awesome. It was gorgeous. The museums were neat.
Yeah. And it was kind of cool, like I guess how like each of them had like a different like I guess piece at the end of the day. And then the one thing that we gotta bring up the soft lock.
Oh my god, I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, like how does a soft lock like that not get through QA or something like that? It's like that was embarrassingly bad. Like
I said it when we got to that part in my stream and people were like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, I'm serious.
Yep, that there's a soft lock here. If you just listen to background dialogue, you can't get out of it. Haha. like
there's a lot of parts where like maybe I'd do something weird or something I didn't feel was normal and the game would work out. I was like, wow, they accounted for that. That's awesome. And then you get there and you're like, and you didn't account for...
and this is the one thing you're supposed to do, like that you're really not supposed to skip, like somebody worrying about Sector 7, basically, and how they had family there, and like, how they work for Shinra, so like they don't know, some sort of actual, like, I guess something you can connect with and like make a assumption for, but like, man, that was weird.
It's not even something weird or like a fringe case. It's like, no, if you literally played the game, you saw a flaw. Like, oh, come on.
Although I did like that they included it, I will say that, but a good homage. So, the battle section was a little odd. I feel like that was kind of just like, oh yeah, by the way, there's you do battles here, and like Chadley's like, I'm an intern, and it's like, hey, damn it, Chadley.
I liked the battle simulator, but you're right, it felt very out of place.
Yeah, like, I ended up going back and doing it too, and it like I liked the battles, and I actually did okay at them. Like I really didn't have any trouble, but like that was weird. Also, when you leave the area and you get that guy from the second chapter that's like, Cloud, like you're here, man. Like I gotta go find that guy, and you're like new players are gonna be like, what the fuck is going on here? And like they reference it again. What the hell? And like all of a sudden like you go through and you get this piece, and like it's just I felt like that was a very good illusion for the future games. Like it's not like stealing something from the next part that should have been there and bringing it in. It's more of like the it's something that was well placed because it makes sense where it's at. So
I just something that was weird, and again I just maybe I'm forgetting something. It's been a while since I played Crisis Core. But the guy says, hang on, I'll be right back, I'm gonna go get Kunsel. Kunsel was one of Zach's friends. He's a soldier.
Really?
Yeah, he was a soldier in Crisis Core that was one of Zach's friends.
Oh.
I just don't know how Cloud ever knew him, but again, it's just been a while.
Okay, maybe that, I mean, if anything, that could have just been like a throwback, I guess, maybe to Crisis Core, but I've never played Crisis Core, so like that, a lot of that stuff's going to be lost on me.
Yeah, Kunsel was a friend of Zach's. He was a soldier second class.
Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Huh. But yeah, that might have just been a throwback, but yeah, that's a good point. Huh. I'd be interested to see if I wonder if they will reintroduce this portions of if like Cloud does get reunited with his buddy, that sort of thing that he was, or something like that. That'd be pretty interesting. So I have not played Dirge of Cerberus, which I want to, but I've heard it's really bad. But I'm also like, I don't know, like I'm not about to freak out about it one way or the other. So yeah, good portion. All right, so I've been on Deliverance from Chaos from the thing. Yeah, that was interesting. Like, because when they encountered Sephiroth and like fell down and everything, I guess the last part that you do is you fight with you fight the poison boss that introduces Red. They show you
17
Jenova.
actually is a lot.
Yeah, 17 does have a lot in it for what the end game is just like packed with content, and I think I almost feel like they started with like mid game, like they started with the plate, they started with the end game, and they started with the early game, and then they just kind of filled in from there more or less as they felt like they needed it. And I don't know if that's how it worked, but that's kind of what it felt like, is they placed things strategically in those places and kind of just filled in as they went. Hence, like, you know, we get Haunted with like it being extra long because they're like, well, the game's only this long so far, so let's just add like another boss or something like that. But like you can't know, so yeah. But
fight the poison thing.
You fight the poison thing. Cloud has like his weird ass flashback, or like he passes out right at the end of the belly.
Oh,
beach,
right,
and then we go into Aerith's like room or holding cell. So
here is important piece number 1. Next Whisper section. Whispers take away Hojo as he's about to tell Cloud he's not a soldier.
Oh, that's a good point too. Yeah. I'll get there.
And then we get Red.
And then we get Red.
The Bloodhounds fight.
Yeah, I was very angry at that fight. I actually used items, like I used grenades and other stuff to stagger, and then like kind of whittle them down. I
thought that was so funny because you were like, I was like, what Bloodhounds? I was like, that fight? I was like, oh, I nailed that fight.
Yeah, like I was
ATB ward, Tifa just spamming Unbridled Fury and comboing them.
Yep, I was. Oh man, you should go back and watch it. My maul was like I said, from here to Jupiter, from like the end of this game, it was like from here to like the next like Andromeda or something like that. Like next galaxy level maul. Like I was cussing up a storm. I was cussing out chat. Like it was bad. It was bad. It was real bad. I was not professional in any way. But I mean, I've seen less professional streamers in my life, so that's okay. But yeah, it was wow. Yeah, that part I was so angry, so angry. Like, oh my man, the mold was out of this. Whatever. Oh my goodness. But yeah.
Seeing Jenova was cool.
Jenova was.
I
very
liked
cool.
that they made it its own floor. Because let's be real, it's the most important specimen in the whole building.
Yeah,
like it's not just in a canister in the corner.
Exactly. Yeah, that it's like it's how focused it is makes it that much better. So,
yeah, and she was creepy. I loved it.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering like how much of Jenova is Jenova, because in like the early section of the OG, they're like it's just Jenova's head.
Yeah.
And I guess the getting captured piece was a little weird, but like I think they kind of made up for it. I don't know. It was weird with how they made up for some things. Like you still go back to the room, but you don't get captured, and I don't know. And I think that's more of Mayor Domino, where like everything is a little bit more. Avalanche has a bigger presence in the game, which I like. So I think that's something that we got to talk to in that aspect. So, or at least that is worthy of note, is that...
Yeah, it definitely was a shame, like Homer said, because, like, that is one of my, at least most memorable parts of the first game, is, you get captured, you wake up, your cell doors are open, there's a trail of blood outside. Like, as a kid, I was like, I don't know if I want to play this.
It was very spooky. Like, it was just very ominous, right? And, like...
you were like, what is happening?
Yeah, and, like, what just the fear of the unknown, right? And, like, they kind of somewhat took that out, with this section a little bit. Like, they made it so, like, it was kind of scarier. Not scary, but, like, the monsters themselves were kind of whatever, but it was, like, I think the ominous level kind of goes away until you come out and fight Jenova, right? And that's kind of the where everything gets, because Jenova was super creepy, super like just like it was nuts. Like I really liked the Jenova fight overall, and like kind of the build up to it was weird, but I guess this is the part where they kill the president, right? And like Barrett getting stabbed too was like ultra weird, and like kind of like the whispers things was odd.
Whispers bring him back.
Yeah, it is like at that point I was like, oh, Barrett said we get wedged now, baby. like that was my thought process. It was very odd, but I kind of wish they would have just killed the president outright. you know, and then they kill Barrett again. But like, you know, I don't know, like the president's like whole death scene was very weird. So
yeah, we did skip one part. What did you think of Hojo's?
Like Hojo himself, I thought
maybe Hojo himself and that whole lab party switching part.
It was weird. I thought it was a good homage to the PHS back in the OG, so that wasn't bad. But that's when I started to get like, I will admit that's how I saved myself. I think at the end of the game with having like how they force you into the teams that you're using. I was like, oh crap, like I'm gonna start switching parties like crazy, and I don't want to have to micromanage all my inventory. So I kind of made use of the fact that they give you so much materia and just restocked everybody with like my most powerful materia. And so that's where I think that point saved me in that aspect of like, you know, I realized I was going to be switching parties back and forth. So if I don't equip myself now, I'm not going to be prepared later, and I don't want to get caught in that aspect where in the OG you just be like, oh, by the way, the party that you use is now not the party you get, so suck it. You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it maybe could have been like one ward less, but
yeah, I agree.
I have liked that throughout the whole game, anytime they put in what we're gonna call a filler section, they make it seem believable, you know?
Yep.
It's like Hojo wants to test stuff because he's a creepy motherfucker that likes data. And I was like, yeah that's believable.
Yeah, it's all within the realm of reason. Like, to us, it seems like filler and like just all this random content, but to a new person, it's like, it's just the way of the world, right? It's not like it's not like Final Fantasy 15 chapter 13 where you're like, why am I still in this part? You know, like it's weird, but you can manage. So it's all very manageable. Just kind of like, why is a big question. So
I didn't mind it too much though. I liked Hojo.
So
I think they really made him out to be a creepy
asshole
dude. I liked it. He was really
I did not
grungy
like
inside and out.
Yeah, and like I think that's one thing they did well is that like I didn't really hate Hojo in the OG until like he started like until Disc 3, and you know, really when he starts like really messing with shit. But now you can see he's like some bad creep that like like for like a better term, like a piece of shit person. So
and that's the thing I liked about Hojo's lab was like, you know, it really sunk in when you go into that room and Barrett's like, remind me, this isn't a hospital, right? And Red's like, nope, specimens don't get treatment. I was like, I don't know, that room just was like, that was a cool room to go into to give you a really taste. Like, Hojo just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, like he is purely here for the science and like sort of like a kind of like a Goebbels level person of just like, you know, just wants to test things and prove and theories, and he doesn't really care what gets in the way of that or who's in the way of that, more or less. So dude, yeah, he's like just bad to the core, I guess, and like nobody really cares. So
Viz brings up the fantastic point that you fight the big poison specimen and you beat it, you immediately go upstairs and Hojo's like, my data suggests that this force should be sufficient. It's like 2 Shinra troopers.
Yeah.
You're like, we just destroyed a monster.
Yeah.
We're gonna kill these 2 guys.
Yeah. It's so weird. But yeah, like, man, I hated Hojo, but like in a good, like, it's good that I hate him, right? So yeah, I feel like that's kind of the penultimate piece of that and like the whole, like the I didn't mind the introduction of like the tattooed people are like, you know, what's the word, like vessels for Sephiroth, basically.
The Genova clones,
yeah. So like I felt like that was good. It's definitely like, it was a good introduction. Rufus was really great too. I like Rufus is kind of a badass. I had fun. I had fun in his fight.
His pants though.
Yeah, no, that was like the Final Fantasy X art style.
That's the Nomura. Yeah, I still think the 1,000 belts thing is cool.
Yeah,
it's just without the pant. Even the coat is like a little like. Okay, I wouldn't wear that in real life, but it's pretty cool. But the pants, I was like,
it's like
no
absolutely
one would
ridiculous.
wear that.
Like, no, tone it down, Nomura. Tone it
down. This is the, wow, maybe a little cocky vice president of a great corporation wearing Hot Topic pants.
Nomura stuck in the 90s, like early 2000s, like, where emo ruled. But yeah, so okay. do we hit everything with 17?
Trying to think. We pretty much. I was gonna say we skipped back when we were talking about the president, but we pretty much nailed everything.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think Hammer's right though. Like the highway section is in this, and I actually really did enjoy.
It is. You're right.
Yeah, I did enjoy the highway section. Motorball. I feel like Motorball was a fun fight. Like it was a good replacement for, I guess, the final bosses that we got at the end of the day.
Knowing that we had all those bosses at the end, yeah, I would have been annoyed if I had to do another fight with Motorball.
Yeah. Highway starts in the next chapter. I don't know either, but yeah, chapter 18. Like this is where
we might as well just get there because here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
Destiny's Crossroads.
Destiny's Crossroads. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I think my first big point that just kind of goes back into the whole like Aerith is omniscient in some aspects is that like Aerith is the one now that's like, we gotta kill Sephiroth, he's bad, like he's gonna destroy the planet, he's the greatest threat to the planet. So, but it's like, you know, why is Aerith telling us this? Cloud, like the only reason we go after him in the first place is because Cloud's like, hey, I've had experience with Sephiroth, I know he's a bad guy, like we need to go after him, like, you know, the man in the black cloak sort of deal, like what the hell. But now Aerith's like, he's bad, let's get him, and the guys are like, yeah, and you're like, okay, well, okay, what?
like I said, I think that's a little bit of like the planet knows he's bad and the planet is telling her this. And I think her getting captured and being in the Shinra building kind of changes her attitude to like I can't run from this anymore, kind of thing.
That's a good point.
It just, I think it was very just left to interpretation where I think it probably should have been shown.
Yeah. So
even just a sight of her like praying in Shinra Tower to kind of get that like, oh, she was communicating with the live stream there or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get Sephiroth or whatever he is. I don't know what that is. But we get Sephiroth and he fucking does his whatever.
He's him. Like,
and Aerith does her whatever, and we end up going to what I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know
Parallel
if that was like
Universe Midgar.
Yeah, like where did we go? I think that's the biggest.
It was just like an excuse. It was just this like excuse for them to throw buildings around.
Yeah, and like make it seem epic, like go KH levels of anime, basically.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I think that's what one thing I got kind of annoyed with was that like all of a sudden we're going from like, you know, relatively out of, you know, like what's that, like the top 99% of people that are strong and like being badasses and being able to fight ourselves and survive to like extreme badasses, and we're fighting this ultimate power and destiny itself, and we're only in the first section of the game, right? Like, we went from we went from 0 to 100 like instantaneously as soon as you cross that thing, and and I was like, why even, right?
I saw somebody saying during that fight, they're like, I can't wait for the game to go from this to please Chocobo Billy, give me some greens.
Yeah, it's like,
but great. Like. I hated the Whispers fight.
Yeah.
Not even for the fight itself. I just really could have done without that.
It was just like, I don't get why. What did we stop? Like, you really didn't give me like a resolution. It was just like, we got to kill the Whispers, and we don't know where we stand with them yet. Are there still Whispers? Are there not Whispers? Are there?
Yeah,
you know, like,
it's just.
I don't know. Like. Yeah, big ass darkness monster is a KH aspect. Like, stop. Yeah, it's darkness within darkness awaits you. Like, it's like, stop. Like, there's no, like, you're starting to muddle things with the OG game, and it's starting to like. I get the whole I wish they almost would have said reimagining, as I said before, because or at least in your chat, because like it was like, well, why are you calling it a remake? So yeah,
and with a remake, I know things. You know things are going to change.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with things changing. It's just, what happened?
Yeah.
So, the end of the game, there are 3 ways that I could see it have gone. And I love, like, and hate. Not hate, but dislike.
Yeah.
And the one I dislike is the one we got.
Yeah.
The Whisper fight into a Sephiroth fight.
Yep.
Wasn't a fan.
Yeah, and
Option 2, which I'm okay with, is just a Sephiroth fight.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And the one I really like is none of it.
Yeah. Hell, give me Motorball.
Think it would have been fine if we just got to the end of the highway. We had a cutscene where we were like, we got to go after Sephiroth.
Yep.
He's a threat to the planet. Even Aerith's whole speech, whatever, and it's just to be continued.
They could have just replaced the Jenova fight at the end of the highway, where
God, we didn't even talk about Jenova fight.
No, Jenova fight was really good. I really
that should have been the final boss.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it easily could have been. Like, they could have literally just plucked it from there. Cloud could have had his encounters with the tattooed men and the Jenova clones, and then boom, there it is. Like, because that's the thing, is like that's where we chase after Sephiroth, right? Where we know he's the bad guy, so how does Sephiroth still, go through this, right? Yeah. And like, it could have just been, I don't know.
On the cargo ship in OG7, you like chase Sephiroth down to the engine room, and then he turns into Jenova Barrett. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what could have happened.
Exactly.
On the end of the highway. You could have had a big Sephiroth confrontation, and then he becomes Jenova.
Yep. And the thing is we could have we already had 2 tattooed men, right? So we could have had one of them be Sephiroth and one of them be the Jenova, like the Jenova we fought, and then all of a sudden Sephiroth like flies away because he can fly now, I guess, and like that's it, right? Like that there shouldn't have been, like, I don't know. The whispers themselves were completely unnecessary. I actually kind of really disliked the Sephiroth fight because it's like, why am I fighting the big bad guy with all of his big bad guy moves from the very end of the game and the OG in the
right
end
here
of
at the start?
Yeah, right here at the start. Like, this is just the beginning. Like, why is this here? And I felt like it was, maybe they were going for the gusto of, like, it's the start of a new thing. We've got to give them the Sephiroth fight with a cool, that was one of my favorite renditions of One Winged Angel. Like, it was really good. Like, I am way tired of One Winged Angel, but I liked listening to that version. Yeah. And you basically got the ending of the OG FF7 where Cloud goes through the 90s portal to, the rock in the middle of space, where they even had the same exact cutscene built up, like the chops into the fight, and it was like, oh great,
the flashes.
Yeah, I was
the weird anime teleporting on Cloud.
Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, so now he's just super fucking powerful, like even more powerful than he was before with destroying this giant whisper thing. Like, come on, guys, like you can't. And now we're not going to have that ability in the second part. You know what I mean? Like you're tilting the power scales too much, and all of a sudden going back on it. Like, somebody's got to stop Nomura.
So, yeah. Here's kind of, I guess we'll get into what everything is and the ending and where it could go. So, from how I understand it, and from what I've kind of seen, so the Whispers are the arbiters of fate. They are trying to keep the timeline as it is.
Yep.
And so we've seen that throughout the game. The Whispers intervene in Chapter 2 to bring attention to Aerith and shoo her away, because that's what happened in the original game. The Whispers break Jesse's leg because Jesse doesn't go to Mako Reactor, Cloud does.
Yep.
The Whispers protect Rude, etc., etc. That's why that Whisper fight before the pillar, I think the Whispers are delaying you to give Jesse and Biggs enough time to die.
Yep.
Because the Whispers are essentially the guardians of the OG story.
Yeah.
They're like, this is how it should go. And so we have killed the Whispers, and thus they're saying, like,
it's gonna change. Yeah, and
things can change.
Yeah, and with this, and then I guess that's one thing to mention. Zack, what happens with Zack? Is Zack alive? We don't know. Is he dead? We don't know. And I think that's my point with what you're saying is well, people could be alive again, but they could still die. There's nothing to say that they couldn't. They're just altering the series of events rather than the true nothing's set in stone still, right? There's still a lot of time for us to loot, to kill Biggs again, kill Wedge again, kill Jesse again. Barrett can die somehow a different way, but
by the way, is Wedge dead?
I think so. It sounded like
the Whispers kill Wedge in the tower.
It sounds like it, because
that's what I think.
Yeah, because he died by falling off of the pillar, right? The first in the OG, right? Well,
but they let him live because they probably were like, the Whispers, that's not an integral part of the OG story. So the Whispers were like, fuck it.
And Yeah, and it sounded like when he got pushed through a window again. I thought I heard glass shattering, if I remember correctly.
And he was like, at least tell me I did something.
Yeah, and which it was kind of in my mind, I was like, Wedge, you really didn't.
I know, right?
It was like, I'm sorry, dude, but you kind of didn't.
But yeah. I'm gonna bring that back up because I think that's important to at least the optimistic part of me on where I think this could go.
Yeah. And
but going back to what you said about Zach, I dislike that so much, solely because if you have not played FF7 before, that means fucking nothing to you.
Yeah.
Like, you are like, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
Who is this black-haired fuck?
And why does he sound funny, and why does he have the Buster Sword? Like, you know, like, it's
funny, and why is it the wrong sword?
Yeah.
Like, dude, seriously, oh my god, they made like multiple models for things and like all these posters and all these fine details. You couldn't make a second Buster Sword model?
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, there's so, I feel like this is like the opening of the questions, and like what things can we predict? What things can we, you know what I mean? It's like they tried to give themselves a blank slate of like, here, we're in part 2, we can kind of almost do what we want and still get, as long as we get to the, you know, we can take a different route as long as we get to the same end point of, you know, stuff. But like, to me, it kind of just like, it cheapened the ending. It feels like it will cheapen the ending later in the game if we just fight Sephiroth every time, and then you know, like, it's like, oh, it's Sephiroth again, great, like, who, like, whatever again. You know, like, I was, that's why I was so angry about the end. It's like, well, we've beat the big baddie, like, it may not be the real one, but like, I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And yeah, honestly,
so
no, go ahead.
I was gonna go into, so optimistic me. I'll go into where I think this could go.
Okay.
So I think the Whispers are dead. We killed the Whispers.
I like, that's broken. My favorite idea as well.
Yeah. So I think the Whispers are dead, but I don't think they're gone forever. So pretend we've never played Final Fantasy VII before. And we've only seen the visions that the party has seen. We saw the meteor. We saw Midgar being destroyed. We saw Aerith. Something looks like something bad with Aerith.
Yep.
And Red 13 running in an empty world.
Yep.
If those were all you've seen and you've never played FF7, you're like, man, that looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I could see how even the party thinks that's the bad ending. That's a bad way for the world to go, with a meteor crashing and Midgard dying. And so at this moment, I think they've been tricked by Sephiroth, in a sense, to deviate from what is the good path.
Okay.
So I think we're going to go through this second part where things are going to be the same but different, you know, because they don't have to be the same as OG.
Yeah.
So maybe we don't take the cargo ship, but maybe we still go to Junon, but there's no dolphin girl. I don't know. It's their excuse now to be like, we could be a little more creative with part 2.
Yeah.
And then maybe we get to like Temple of the Ancients, and Aerith like communes with the planet at the Temple of the Ancients, and she like goes, holy crap, we messed up. That was actually what we should be doing. And she ends up martyring herself at the Temple of the Ancients in like this is how we get back on track.
Yeah.
And her dying like brings back the Whispers and gets them back on track to still get to the end.
That'd be interesting. Hammer, don't even joke about Xehanort bullshit logic, okay?
Dude,
like,
it's so there is the pessimistic part of me that is so possible at the moment.
Yeah, and like I just hope they rein it in, because like we don't need that level of KH like story retconning on its own, you know? Like,
because I could see that we are facing Sephiroth from Advent Children, who knows how the story has played out, and he's trying to get us off that path. And then we could get into this like Zack comes in from the parallel universe we saved, and we fight alongside Zack to defeat Sephiroth. And
you are scaring me so much right now. You are. I hadn't even thought of these positive. Like, I was optimistic in the sense of like we're gonna get kind of the same story, but it's gonna optimize it maybe. And again, like we get the same people still die. They just die in a different way, and we still get to experience them out through the rest of the sections, I guess.
I still think, like I said, I'm optimistic. I still think like my path is the path that I think they might go down. What they're trying to do, I think, with the whole Zack thing, I think what they're trying to do is set it up so everybody thinks Aerith won't die. They're trying to be like, look, anybody can live, and then can shove a sword in her back and be like, just kidding, still happening.
Just kidding, still happens.
I think they want to hit everybody with that impactful moment.
That is exactly on. Okay, I will agree. That is what I was thinking. Is the kind of my point of like everybody could still die. There's no set in stone out of well they didn't die then, so there's no reason why they can't die now, more or less.
Right.
So yeah, I Hummer and I were talking about it, and he said like it's kind of like you kind of have to have Aerith die to make the story impactful.
Yeah.
Like if she doesn't die, then there's just like a loss of there's a void of a not a mission, but like not a retribution in a way, and like a cause. So
I agree, and I think I'm hoping that like the Zack thing, and you never know, again, we don't know where they're gonna go. I'm hoping that's more of like a nod to people like that wanted to see Zack live, that they're like, look, there's a timeline where Zack lived, but not this one. To be like, look, there's if you want to believe it, he lived in a different parallel universe somewhere, but that's not what the story we're telling or something. I hope they rein it in and they're like, that was just a little homage.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that. The worst thing that I predicted as a joke was like parallel universes, they all come together to fight like all the bad Sephiroths, and like you got like the hexagonal Cloud versus Advent Children Cloud versus our Cloud, and like they're all that sort of like that sort of thing. But I think you've got a point, Hammer, but like
I also saw like there's also the possibility that it was just like at that moment the party saw the things they wanted to see. Once they saw that like they're like, we defeated the Whispered, we changed fate. Barrett, they had that moment where like Marlene saw Barrett, or like
saw
it's
water.
Like so Barrett wanted Marlene. Tifa wanted the Avalanche people to have not died. Cloud wanted Zack to live. It was like just this moment of like, this is what everybody wanted. But then they walked past, and it's like, but that's not actually what happened.
They're moving on from it, more or less. Like, and I think that's where
I think
it gets scary. Is we're kind of like teetering on like possibilities, and the scary kind of bit of it is like we don't know what they can do with it story wise, because we know what happens, and like what happened wasn't bad. It was there was no bad part. Like, yes, there were bad parts, but it was like we know what the conclusion that we arrived at, everybody was happy with, and they can say that everything was wrapped up fully. But now there's kind of just like this uncertainty of like, well, what can they change? What will they change? Is it worth changing it? And that's what scares me the most, I would say.
Again, to my original thought of like they actually have changed fate, but they're gonna get back to it. I'm like, that's where like that scene of like Zack and Cloud walking past, and it like slowed down as they passed Aerith. If that was like a moment where like they passed by and Aerith was like, maybe we didn't do the right thing.
Who knows? It's getting weird. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be super weird up until we get part 2, and then we can start to solidify things more and know. But hopefully they come out with something soon. But
But my comment about like Wedge dying, and I felt that might be a little more significant than we thought, because that leads me back to an idea of, even if they change fate, things that have to happen will happen. Like you said, like Aerith has to die. Maybe she doesn't die in the Temple of the Ancients, but she will die because she has to die. Kind of like Wedge didn't die at the Pillar, but he had to die.
And then
he will die.
And then Jesse and Biggs are gonna like come back and help us, but they're still gonna pass, and it's gonna be harder. You're right, because we weren't expecting it, you know.
Yeah,
but
they're gonna make Aerith get past the Temple of the Ancients. You're like, what? And then just kill her. And you're like, what?
It's just they're gonna try and throw curveballs, but still like kick you in the nuts. So,
so I think the main events might still happen. They're just gonna twist them. To try and subvert even people who know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I think that's I don't want to say I'd almost appreciate that, but I would definitely say I'd be okay with that happening because like like I'm still getting the same story, but not the same exact story, and I can still experience something new to, you know, kind of fall in love with almost, right?
Yeah. So, like I said, maybe I'm naive, but part of me feels like they should know they can't take the Final Fantasy VII that far off the rails.
Yeah.
Without people outraging and.
Yeah, if this is their last chance, honestly, for me, because like besides 14, I guess because I don't play it, like I like with how 15 went, how 13 really just didn't, you know, invoke anything in me. Like this is really their last chance, especially with what they did with Kingdom Hearts. Like I'm at this point, I'm like, yep, this is really your last chance. Otherwise, I'm just sticking to your old games for the rest of time.
Yeah, because it's like they've got the world's attention right now.
They really,
this was honestly a home run, and it's like, carry it through, and you're gonna get the respect back that you've lost over the last few years.
Yeah, exactly. So
if they take it off left field again, people are gonna be like, we can't even do FF7 right. They're never gonna make something.
Yep, that's exactly it. So they've got a lot to do, but there's a lot there's a lot to do, but there's a lot they can like regain and ground. So yeah. So I think we hit all like the points though. Like I think we agreed on mostly everything basically. Like I think my last like point of all was honestly I think they're worried about like having a full game more or less, that they feel like they've got to charge $60 for a game and fill it up with all that stuff. Like honestly, if they just gave me the new points, even the old points, and kind of cut out all that extra filler, I'd pay $45 for this game. I'd pay 30. Like I would gladly pay for even half the content. I would pay 40. I think $30 is a little bit low, but you know what I'm saying? Like even maybe a little bit less, I would have been happy with $60 almost. Like
there's a lot of games that come out today that are $60 games that are like 5 to 8 hour games.
RE3.
And we just they could have cut out like half the fluff in this, and it still would have been a 20-25 hour game for $60. I mean, so I definitely think they didn't need all the fluff they put in, and it still would have been a slam dunk.
Yeah. Interesting how they include.
So,
I agree with Hammer a little bit. Like, they're getting very meta themselves with this, and
it doesn't need a big meta narrative.
Yeah,
it's a great story on its own.
It really is. Yeah, it's like you don't need plot protectors in a meta narrative. Like just roll with it. Like being meta nowadays is kind of, it's like, don't be meta on me, please. Just tell me. Like tell me how it is.
It's like, because I think they set out one time, they're like, oh, we want to just rehash the original story. We want to give people a fresh experience, blah blah. It's like, no, I think you can just slam out the original and everybody's gonna be happy.
Yeah, like if they literally just would have redone it in completely brand new graphics and it been the exact same story, I would have been over the moon happy, and I would have been none the wiser about the fact of the things that they could have included. They could have included, like, honestly, if they would have included like the smaller things, like how Avalanche is actually a real organization and it's not just Barrett, Barrett, Wedge, Jesse, and Biggs. Like if it's just the four of them, it's more than the four of them. Great. Like I know, like, you know, they could have just expanded on slight things.
The Wu-Tai War.
Yeah, the Wu-Tai War. Like there's other things they could have just touched on and built out. But like it would have been like, I would have been totally happy with that.
Oh yeah.
But it's if they want to go for the gusto, just don't fuck it up. Like,
and it's like, I get that they don't want to be shackled down by the original story and have no creativity. You know, it's just like, we have to do the main story. But if you really don't want to do that, then don't remake the game.
Yeah, don't remake the game. Like, like this. Like,
you want to make this new story? Don't remake the game. Like, it just seems weird that they're like, we want to remake FF7, but we want a whole new story. Like, then just make a new game.
Yeah, just make, like you've got enough foreskin ghosts there that you can like make FF16. Like, come on, like, like I don't know. They it's not like, from what we've seen, they don't have. It's not like they lack the creative aspect. It's just that they're not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. The muddle is almost like they're on the point. They're on the verge of muddling too much, and that's where it gets scary.
Yeah, it's definitely. So the thought I had about part 2 is like, because they have to balance it somehow.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be a really cool thing. Maybe not really cool, but like really believable if they try and stiff us, like really take half our materia and that sort of thing at the start of part 2 by having Yuffie come steal.
Oh my god, I'd be so
that would
pissed.
Be neat.
Oh my god, I'd be so angry. I better get it back though. Like I better like Yuffie better like steal our materia. Halfway through, she gives it back, or like we've already built up enough materia not to care. I don't know. Yeah. Like the thing is like I don't. I feel like I'm a little bit too upset about the fact that we didn't get to play Red in this, and we better get Yuffie and Vincent in the next game, or at least we need somebody new. We can't just roll around with our awkward party of 4, right? Yeah. We need at least 2 parties of 3, and so yeah, but yeah, it's just more of like it's a bigger question of where are we going to end up, right? Because like Yuffie shows up after the farm, which the farm can't be that big in part 2. That's the thing to me. Is like it's supposed to be like a small little place with chocobos. It can't be some like huge giant place, right? And Calm can't be that big, right? So the thing is, Junin's going to be like the next Midgar in a way. But we better, if we don't get at least to Costa del Sol, then I will be very like, I just come on guys, like now you're drawing this out. Why am I paying $60 for this? Would be my main question. So
I know it's a lot of content, but I think they need to get to Temple of the Ancients
really
to get some plot going. Yeah, because I think they need to show where we're going in the next part. Honestly, I don't think they can put out another part and still be like, but you still don't know what's happening.
Yeah, true. That's a very good point. Like we've got to hit like the next big step, which at the end of the day is Temple of the Ancients.
Yeah, like I said, that has to be like either the make or break of if we're sticking to the main story. Like, are we gonna try and get back on path by bringing back the Whisperers, or are we just taking the dirt road and fucking everything up?
Yeah. That or Cosmo Canyon, but even Cosmo Canyon it's like, with how it's a bigger area, isn't like, you know what I mean? It's not like not that much story. It's just a lot of background on like the world itself. That's where we learn about the live stream. We learn about Mako energy and all, like how when people die they return to the live stream and those sorts of things, and like how we can get Whispers more or less.
Yeah, that could be a cool spot where like Bugenhagen is like, everything's fine as long as you follow the Whisperers, and we're like, yeah, we killed them. And he's like,
sorry, dog. Yeah, that'll be because like they're the voices of the planet, right? So like Aerith listens to them. So I mean, Bugenhagen hearing them too. I really want to see Bugenhagen though on his orb floating around. Like,
oh my god, yes.
I'm excited for Bugenhagen now. Like I like this. So
yeah, I'm really, that's still the path. My optimistic self is I'm hoping they go down. They go down this like, let's have some fun for a while with the story, but then they rein it in at the end and they're like, all right, let's bring it back.
Here we are. Yeah, this is it. Like big
meteor's still gonna fall. We're still gonna
black material.
Keep the ending as it is.
Yeah, that's very
because
true.
Like, what are they gonna just make this all side story and be like, this just exists?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with Crisis Core, Advent Children, or anything. It just exists.
Just exists. It just happens on its own. Yeah, the definitely. With this, are you ready for final thoughts, I guess? Yeah. So, personally, like, this game was amazing. I would say if I'm going to give an 8 out of 10 scale, well, out of a 10 scale, I'll give it an 8. I gave away what I was thinking. Maybe more, maybe less on the day what I'm thinking, but very solid game. Combat's great. Obviously some off things, but like I am very much looking forward to the next part. So yeah.
I'm maybe crazy, but I'm up to a 9 or a 9.5.
Really?
I was like at a 10 on this game, and then we hit the ending, and I was like,
really? Wow.
And like, I'm like,
roll that back a little bit.
I'm still on the train, but I'm like, I'm on the line. I'm like, this could go wrong, but I'm still into it.
Yeah.
I think they could do some. they're really on the line right now.
Yeah,
They could do some really good things, or they could really fuck this up. But it's good that I hope that the plot is not enough to go for 40 hours. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with Homer. Like I said, I think they could have taken out.
Oh yeah.
A good 3-4 hours of the fluff, and still I would have been like, this is a 9 out of 10 game. I would not have changed anything. I could have had a 22-hour game, and I would have been like, yep, I loved it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
I never felt like I was like, I wanted more. Tifa monkey bars content.
Tifa monkey bars coming through. Tifa pull-ups coming through. Yeah, I really like. My problem was I hit the ending and I was like 5 out of 10. This sucks. Like I was done. I was so done with it. But like overall, like despite all of my like the things that I didn't like and my misunderstandings, and as a huge, as I mentioned in the beginning, like how important this game is to me, I'm still coming back. I still want to play it. Like I still want to do hard mode. I still want to go through and get everything else and kind of like complete this game and be able to set it down and be like, I'm ready for the next part. So
like I said, I'm not being too harsh on the story because we don't know where it's going yet. Yeah. So I'm like, this for now, I think extremely highly of it.
Yeah.
Could drop based on the next part, but I think the gameplay itself holds really well. I think Square got a good thing going here.
They do, yeah. We certainly got to see where it goes, because like at this point, they like I said, they've given us they've given us. We've given them the green light basically with what they've provided to move forward and say, yes, you can do this. This is okay. And then as fans and as people that play Final Fantasy. So cool.
I'm hoping that there's a big vocal group out there that's kind of really puts it out there. It's like, we love it, but please rein it back just a bit, or be careful, or and I really hope they take that into consideration,
very seriously.
I hope they really listen to the fans when because I've already seen a little bit of it, and I'm sure we're gonna see a lot more people are like, I'm a little scared right now.
Yeah, it's like, you guys are making me nervous.
You still have the chance to be like, that Zack thing was just a homage to like He Could Live, forget about it. They still have the chance to just be like, we're still on the right track.
And Amr, you're right. Like I think that, like they always do change combat between games, right? Like it's something that they're known for doing. If they didn't change it at all, I'd actually be okay with that. Like I was very happy with this. Maybe they can make some tweaks, like just some slight tweaks, which that's what really all 13 1 and 2 were, right? Was they took 13 and they improved upon it and made it a lot better. I loved 13-2 for its combat. Like the story was like wishy-washy at best, but like especially the ending, again, same thing. I was like, what the fuck just happened? And then now I'm like, if I'm extremely happy
I won't even
with
touch Lightning Return's story with a pole
anymore. Yeah, exactly. Like so if they take the combat and build on it, that's fine. But again, it's all on that thing of don't go overboard. You're not walking on thin ice yet, but you're walking towards it.
We see the edge of the cliff.
There's a cliff there, guys.
The second they're like, Sephiroth's been time traveling through the live stream, I'm turning my PS4 off.
I'm turning it off. I'm done. I'd be like, Nomura, get his head on a pike. Like, I'm sorry, dude, you need to step down. We're done. Like, but there's hope. There's hope, and that's the thing. It's like that's the big thing in Final Fantasy VII overall is you gotta wish, you gotta hope, right? So, yeah, cool. All right. Well, Zik, thank you for your wonderful conversation, dude. You're making me feel so much. You're making me feel so much better about this because I was so scared at the end of the day. And like when this all happened,
I said, I'm being optimistic. But I'm pretty. I'm feeling good that might be the route they go down.
I'm in the same spot. So yeah, but play a spin-off mobile title if they do anything like that. I will again. I'm going to Japan. I'm not coming back home to the U.S. until Corona's done, and then I'm going to find Nomura, and it's gonna happen.
You have to play Before Crisis on your flip phone.
Oh God. Okay. That's no. Okay, but yeah, very good game. Absolutely amazing.